Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and today I am doing my very last S Plus ranking playthrough in Resident Evil 2. Up to this point, I've done S Plus ranking playthrough with each of the characters' scenario, with the exception of this final one, which is going to be Leon Scenario 2. In order to get the S Plus ranking in Scenario 2, I have to beat the game in under 2 hours. I have to save 3 or less times, and I cannot use any infinite ammo firearms. Also, I am keeping in the cutscenes because they do not count against your in-game time. And as a personal goal, I don't intend to die in this playthrough. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started.
No one's around.
Go! Don't shoot!
Get down! Come on!
What the hell is going on?
I don't know. Hopefully they'll have some answers at the police station.
Wait, you're a cop?
Yeah, Leon Kennedy. You are?
Claire Redfield.
Claire, you okay?
Yeah! I'm alright! How about you?
Can't stay here, it's not safe!
Go on ahead! I'll meet you at the station!
I'll be there!
And now the playthrough actually begins. There is going to be one more
hope you made
cutscene
it
here in just a moment. Whenever it comes to the cutscenes, I do not talk during those. That way we can potentially still get all the major story points and get to enjoy the plot of the game without me interrupting it. So unless I'm controlling the character, usually I am not talking. So Leon is the second one here to the police station. Now we're trying to get him inside. There's going to be a red herb and a blue herb that I collect along the way. And the very last thing I collect before that cutscene kicks off is going to be the bolt cutters. Once I have those in my inventory, we get to say hello to Claire again.
Hey! Claire?
Leon! I'll be right there!
Come on.
Leon, we really gotta stop meeting like this.
Are you alright? Police chopper, it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I take it you don't have the key.
No, I don't. It's good to see your face, though. How are you holding up?
I'm hanging in there.
Hell of a night, huh?
Yeah. You find your brother?
I did, actually. He's... Just when you think it can't get any worse. Leon, you should get going.
Don't worry about me. Just get yourself to safety.
No, Leon, seriously, they're getting through the fence. Please, just go.
We're gonna make it. Both of us.
I immediately book it to the right as soon as that cutscene is over to avoid the zombie that's directly in front of Leon. Going a little bit too slow will typically get you caught, like the majority of the time. You have to run almost immediately. But with the bolt cutters, I go all the way back to the locked door that we saw earlier being held closed with a bunch of chains. We break the chains, we go in there, we're going to find the M1945 caliber handgun. We are also going to get a hand grenade and the courtyard key to access the police station. And after that, we get changed into the proper Raccoon City Police Department uniform. It doesn't have the weird shoulder pads like the uniform from the original Resident Evil 2, but I guess it will do.
Not exactly how I pictured breaking this in.
Now that we actually look like we're ready to fight some zombies, we go ahead and we deposit the Matilda. We're not going to need that handgun for a pretty long time, if ever. And then I mix my herbs, and now I'm ready to go tackle the zombies back outside, which is where the hand grenade is going to be very useful. Alright, so one zombie did follow me all the way down to the guard shack, so I'm going to back into that safe room. I'm going to wait till that zombie passes by the door, then I'm going to open it and use that door as a point of separation between the zombie and Leon. After that, I'm free to run back up the stairs and towards the other group of zombies. Then I'm going to pass the hand grenade to them, let that explode and clear out the entire group. Then I should be free to go ahead and use that key that we just got to access the police station and start exploring inside there. Once I am done using the courtyard key, I go ahead and get rid of that because we are not going to be needing that anymore. Then we are finally within the police station. I grab some .45 caliber ammunition and then I walk up the fire escape.
This is not how I imagined my first day.
Now, take note of the fact that there are some fiery zombies that have left the helicopter and are now wandering around the hallway. I have always been under the impression that the fire will eventually kill those zombies, but, well, just keep that in mind because apparently I was wrong about that. I mean, I always figured the fire would take a while to kill them, but I still figured they would eventually die. Back on the first floor, I go ahead and pick up some boards that I can use to board up a window if it becomes necessary. And then I go and say hello to Elliot and compliment him on suddenly losing about half of his weight. And in congratulating him, I go ahead and put him out of his undead misery, shooting him a bunch of times in the head with a new handgun that we just picked up a moment ago in the guard shack. Once I am done taking down Elliot, I pull out the combat knife that is stuck in the wall. And then I make my way down to the break room safe room, which is going to also have some shotgun shells immediately outside of it. I go ahead and pick those up. And I immediately end up depositing those into the storage box inside of that safe room. Also, while I'm in that room, I go ahead and pick up a blue herb, some high-grade gunpowder, some more .45 caliber ammunition. Most of which is just going to find its way inside of the storage box, but I'm still grabbing as much as I can while I am here. And I'll also go ahead and point out that I am picking up the Magnum ammunition. And unlike in one of my previous Leon playthroughs, that's not by accident this time. So yeah, that is just a little clue that I will be picking up the Lightning Hawk in this playthrough. That is mention worthy because I normally would not do that whenever trying to do the S+ ranking with Leon. In fact, in my previous playthrough, I completely skipped it. And the only time I've gone out of my way to pick up that weapon as Leon was whenever I was doing the long playthrough for him. But that also included me getting every other weapon in the game and all the weapon upgrades as well, so that was kind of the idea. And here in the S+ ranking playthrough, I try to cut out anything that might take up a little bit too much time. But I feel like getting the Lightning Hawk with Leon in Scenario 2 is a pretty quick process. So this time around, I'm actually going to get that gun. But yeah, the main reason I'm in the break room, safe room, is to pick up a fuse that I'm going to be using at the shutter door that gives us access to the main entrance hall. So with that now in hand, I make my way over to the east side office area. That way I can start picking up some more items I need in there and start making my way to that shutter door. Once I'm inside the east office area, I go ahead and board up the windows and start grabbing a few things while I'm in that office area and also preparing for the zombie to eventually break in after me. So I pick up a flash grenade and I go ahead and pick up some more .45 ammunition. And just as the zombie is breaking through the door, I try to run to the corner of the room. That way I can loop around the row of desks. Only I go a little bit too slowly and the zombie ends up grabbing me and biting me and I take some early damage that I would have liked to have avoided. Honestly, taking damage this early on made me kind of want to go ahead and reset, but I'm pressing on. At the very end of the row of desks is going to be a separate office that I go inside of to pick up a round handle. And then I run to the door that's being held closed by a chair. I bust through there after I remove the chair, and then I remember this is Scenario 2 and there are way less zombies in the hallway, so I'll go ahead and go down to a custodian office. Well, not an office, a custodian closet, and I pick up some .45 caliber ammunition. Then I run down to the press room and I get even more .45 caliber ammunition. And then I run all the way down to the public restroom, and in the middle stall of that restroom is going to be a first aid spray. With all that out of the way, I try to be a little bit cautious because there are going to be zombies around. There's going to be some in the hallway and probably back in the east office area that I was just in, so Since I'm hurt anyway, I just go ahead and use that first aid spray, and then I navigate my way to the panel where I can use that fuse to access the entrance hall. Speaking of which, here we are. I go ahead and put that fuse in the box, and the shutter starts opening. Once it's all the way up, I go into the entrance hall, and then I find that there are no people. There's 3 zombies in the room. I'm going to have to go ahead and clear all those out. There's one right here in the very front. And then the zombie version of Marvin, Lieutenant Marvin Branna, he's going to be towards the middle of the room. And then there's going to be one more zombie at the very back of the room right by the lion statue. So I take my time clearing all those out, and if you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm tired of seeing this guy run away from every single zombie that we've seen so far, well, we're going to get a little bit of a break from that here, because I am going to be killing all the zombies in this room. The first one goes down after a few gunshots, and then I'm free to use the combat knife to slash away at it on the ground until it finally expires. And then we get to say hello and goodbye to Zombie Marvin. It's kind of a shame that this is Scenario 2, and it's going to be my last Resident Evil 2 video for the foreseeable future because, well, we do not get to know Marvin whatsoever in this playthrough. And with this being the last playthrough video that I want to do for Resident Evil 2, that means it's pretty much going to be the last time we see Marvin. Well, actually, now that I think about that, that's not entirely true. It's going to be the last time we see Marvin in Resident Evil 2. I do intend to do some Resident Evil 3 remake videos as well. And without getting too into the details, this will not technically be the last time we see Marvin because he does make an appearance in that game as well. So yeah, we don't get to see him anymore in Resident Evil 2, but we will see you again in Resident Evil 3. I took a short break from all the zombie killing to go ahead and do the puzzle with the lion statue in the back of the room. All you have to do is put the symbols in the right sequence, which should be crown, fire, bird. And then once you have the symbols in the right sequence, it gives you the lion medallion, which I went ahead and took to the goddess statue in the middle of the room, and I inserted it there. We're going to need 3 medallions total. And when we have all 3, as the cutscene alludes to, there is a secret passageway that's going to take us to the next part of the game. So that is going to be our next goal. Although there was still one zombie in the back of the room as well that needed to go down, so we went ahead and shot that a few times. It went down, then we knifed it until it was done. Which pretty much summarizes how I took down every single zombie in the entrance hall. So yeah, that went pretty well all around with all 3 zombies. I'm pretty happy about that. My next stop is going to be the west hallway, which before I go over there, I go ahead and grab the first aid spray that's available to us in the entrance hall. There is not a storage chest in the entrance hall in Scenario 2, or else I'd be depositing some items like that right now, but that's fine. They can just hang out in our inventory for the time being. So in the west hallway, things are going to be a little bit different than they were in Scenario 1. In Scenario 1, there's not really too much going on in that hallway except for a zombie coming in through the window at the very end of that hall before you get to the conference room. In Scenario 2, however, there is a licker in that hallway. So do not get into a hurry, take your time and tiptoe through the hallway and you should be fine, but yeah. The game gives you a hint about that difference whenever a licker is climbing on the window on the outside of the building, and that's just before you go through the door for that west hallway. So when you see that, you know you should probably slow down and start walking, which if you do, congratulations, you're probably not going to get mauled by the licker. That ends up working out pretty well for me, and I make it all the way down to the conference room. Once I am inside of the conference room, I go ahead and use the bolt cutters for the very last time, breaking the chains on a door in the back of the room. That is going to give us access to the back of the conference room where there is going to be a detonator, but it does not have a battery, so we need to go ahead and go find one of those. Also, while in the back of the conference room, I go ahead and pick up a flash grenade and a green herb, both of which will be pretty useful later on. And then I unlock the door and make my way out into the evidence room hallway and go down to the very end of it. That way I can pick up some more .45 caliber ammunition. And then I turn around and I see a zombie banging on a vending machine, and I need to go ahead and take that down along with a bunch of other zombies in this area. Now, this guy got me thinking about the weird biology of zombies. Like, what bodily functions and organs still work on them and which ones don't? And I'm thinking of specifically the Resident Evil zombies because they can be a little bit weird. Like, their eyeballs work because they can see you and react to you. Their ears work because they can hear you too. And their muscles are at least somewhat working because they can still walk and grab you and bite you. They also feel hunger because they're trying to eat you. And thinking back to the original Resident Evil, they even have some involuntary reflexes like vomiting, so some of that still works, kind of. And then there's the stuff that's not working, like they are still decomposing, and we see them struggling to move around at more than a hobbling pace because of the rigor mortis. So what else would we not normally think about that still works for the Resident Evil zombies despite being dead? Because yeah, some stuff is clearly working and other stuff is not. And with the vending machine zombie, the question that specifically came to my mind was, can a zombie have an allergic reaction? Like if vending machine zombie happened to have a severe nut allergy, and he accidentally fished out a Snickers bar from the machine, would that have been able to put him down permanently? Or since he's already technically dead and kind of in a zombie state, is his immune system not really working anymore and not really going to be prone to any sort of an allergic reaction? I'm just going to go ahead and assume that maybe it still kind of works because he's still somewhat animated. And since it's kind of sort of working, but maybe other stuff isn't working like his digestive system, would he have to just suffer through the swelling and the other side effects of the exposure to the nuts if he is a dead body that can't pass on the food properly? I mean, it's just going to be stuck in his zombie body the entire time at that point. This is just a random thought, but Resident Evil kind of picks and chooses what bodily functions still work for zombies, so I got really curious about this scenario. And yeah, 6 recorded playthroughs of this game into these videos. I personally consider these the really important questions, not what I'm doing in the background right now. We are wondering about allergic reactions on zombies. So could I end a zombie's unlife with a Snickers bar? And I hope you enjoyed this question and this tangent because I am just kind of collecting ammunition and other items in the background, killing zombies and making my way to the Spade Key. And I thought this might be a more interesting narration other than just me saying that I'm picking up more ammo and picking up other items and such. I mean, stuff you can already see on the screen. Plus, if you have seen my other playthroughs or played the game yourself, you probably already know what's going on, so I don't really need to over-narrate it. And at this point, I figure maybe I just let some of my random thoughts enter the video, and maybe that's not such a bad thing, maybe that's going to be a little bit more entertaining. I don't know, but I am giving it a try. Although getting back on track slightly, I ran by the window and a zombie just slinkied his way into the police station. And I am dealing with the slinky zombie now. And I ducked into the safe room that is right by the stairs with Fluffy's crate from Creepshow underneath it. And I got some items from within that film developing safe room. Then I backtracked to the west office area to get the hip pouch out of the safe for some extra storage space. Lastly, I need Leon to go up the stairs to the 3rd floor, that way we can go ahead and get the Spade Key at the very top floor before pressing on out of this area. Anyway, back to my random thoughts and tangents and such. Well, actually, before I do that, I should probably go ahead and say what the main plan is here. I need Leon to get to that 3rd floor to get that Spade Key, and then I'm going to go unlock some doors around the building. We also need to get to the STARS office by passing through the steamy locker room with the massive hole in the wall, thanks to, well, Carlos and Resident Evil 3. And above all else, I need to get all 3 medallions from the statues, that way we can open up the secret passageway fully and move on to the next part of the game. And also face off against the first boss of the game. So yeah, if I get too lost in random conversation from this point forward, you know what I'm trying to do in the background, and you get an idea of what the main goals are, so you kind of just understand, hey, this is what this guy is doing, even though he's not talking about it. And if this playthrough is a bit too full of me going off topic for you, feel free to check out some of the other RE2 playthroughs that I have. Those tend to break down the step-by-step actions a lot more than what I am doing here. I just did not necessarily feel like doing that again for a 6th playthrough in a row. So yeah, even though this is Leon's first night on the job, he is going to be going through such insane crap that I think he might be the most crisis-experienced police officer that this city has ever seen. Well, except maybe Chris, Jill, Barry, and Rebecca. All of them were STARS members from the first game, and here in the second game, Leon might not be a STARS member, but he's definitely doing pretty good in comparison. And he definitely outranks Brad's zombie crisis experience because he just ran away in the helicopter for 98% of that first game. And yeah, all those examples I threw out there are from the first game, so maybe they are not the best comparisons. Maybe I should go for some other comparable character in this game instead, but there's not that many police officers still alive in this game. Well, I suppose there is still Chief Irons, at least for a little while. I mean, he definitely has more experience than Chief Irons by the end of the game. Actually, I should probably rephrase that. Chief Irons is mostly seen in this game child abducting and also having given Catherine Warren the creepy taxidermy treatment. So saying somebody has more experience than Chief Irons may inadvertently insinuate some things you do not want. So I guess a better phrasing would be Leon has way better zombie disaster experience by the end of the game in comparison to Chief Irons. After all, the Chief just kind of enables the outbreak to happen and does very little to prevent it or stop it. And in the end, William Birkin, part of the outbreak, is what ends up killing the Chief, so we cannot even say that his zombie survival skills are all that good. So yeah, Leon has been the best zombie crisis managing policeman on the force since day one, no argument there, and that day one is still unraveling on the screen. Good job for you, rookie. And I guess getting back to what is happening on screen, right now I'm picking up the unicorn medallion from the library, which will just leave me needing to get one more medallion in order to open up the secret passageway. While in the library, there are some zombies that become aware of my presence and become active, and I slowly open the door out of the unicorn room and see that one of the zombies has descended upon me in the small room, and I just barely get out of the way in time before that zombie breaks open the door and runs in after me. And realizing I was in a unique position, I go ahead and leave that zombie in the unicorn room and run to the entrance hall as fast as I can using the spade key to open up that door. The reason I do that is because I want the zombie to become docile again, and if you get far enough away from them, that will happen. And if it becomes docile in the unicorn room, I don't think it will ever try to return to the library and it will never get in my way ever again. So we're just going to leave it in the unicorn room to just rot away for all of eternity. And once I got away from the unicorn room and away from that zombie, I tried picking up the red plastic replica of the Necronomicon, thinking to myself, you know what? This game has lots of zombies, but not nearly enough deadites. But it turns out my inventory was too full, so I go back to the entrance hall, I drop off the medallion, that way the secret passageway just needs one more to open up. And at that point I return to the library, I pick up the plastic red book that I'm going to need to get the magnum weapon later on. And once I have that in hand, I go back to opening up the last remaining door with the spade key, that way I can go ahead and get rid of it and not have that in my inventory anymore. Also, beyond the last door that I need to unlock with that key is going to be a small art room that the book is going to become immediately useful in. And I joked about it being a replica of the Necronomicon, but just how much worse could the scenario in Raccoon City really be if we added deadites to it? Like, it's already pretty terrible. I don't think we can make it that much worse. Alright, here's the last door where I need that spade key. I go ahead and open it up and I advance on to the art room I was talking about. Once I'm in there, I get rid of the spade key and I pick up the weapons locker keycard. I'm going to need that to get the shotgun, which is going to be super important for this playthrough, and then I turn my attention to the statue. Like I mentioned, the red Necronomicon knockoff book is going to be useful right there. I pick up the statue arm, I put the arm and the book together, and then I put that on the statue. So we are just going to try and get the best of both worlds here. I'm going to actually describe what's happening on screen, but then I'm also going to give my random thought narration for this, so prepare yourself. Once you give the arm and the book back to the statue is going to give you some weird scepter with a jewel in it. Whenever you have that in your inventory, you can inspect it. And if you do that, you can take the red gem out of the scepter. And you can also then use that red gem to combine with the jeweled box I found earlier in the locker room that was all steamy. And inside of it, you will find that there is a police badge. Well, what looks like a police badge. Because if you turn it around and inspect that as well, it turns out it's not actually a badge, it is a very unique USB drive. And it is that USB drive that I will need to open up a weapons locker inside of the Star's office that gives me access to the Lightning Hawk Magnum pistol. Okay, that's the real world thing that I'm doing. But instead, here is my random thought version of what happens whenever you give the arm and the book to the statue. After I do that, it decides to give me its Sailor Moon scepter, and then Leon's just like, Star, Prism, Power, and then suddenly the monster of the week turns up right behind him, which turns out to be a liquor. It slaps the shit out of me. I run out of the room, and then immediately on the other side of the door, there turns out to be a zombie that heard me make a Sailor Moon reference, and he's one of those people that's a little bit too into an anime about what I think are high school girls, and then he tries to bite me, and I'm like, dude, go away, you're really weird. So I shove a flash grenade in his mouth, and then I book it out of that area. So yeah. That's the tangent version. I hope you enjoyed both. Anyway, getting back on track slightly with less random explanations about what's going on. So in every other playthrough that I have done up to this point, the only time I have gone out of my way to get the Magnum was during my long playthrough as Leon because I was trying to get as much stuff as possible to showcase the entire story of the game. And that included all the weapons and all the weapon upgrades. When it comes to the S+ ranking playthroughs, when it's more about time and efficiency, I've been cutting that out. So why am I doing that now in Leon's second scenario? Well, the second scenario is kind of unique because you can get whatever weapon is inside of the Star's office weapon locker much earlier in the game. Like if this was scenario 1 for Claire or Leon, you would not be able to get that weapon until after the first boss of the game, and you have to kind of go out of your way to get it. Like there's not really a good time, in my opinion, for Leon to get it that's not somewhat out of the way. However, here in scenario 2, you can get the badge with the USB drive in it and open up that locker prior to the first boss, which is kind of perfect and not that far out of the way because we have to go to the Star's office anyway as a requirement to advance in the game. So if you could just take a moment to get the box, get the scepter, and then use that to get the badge, or you go to the STARS office, you're really not going that much out of your way to get the Magnum, and you're not really wasting all that much time. So after giving it some consideration, I decided, you know what, for this final playthrough, I'm going to go ahead and get that weapon and make things a little bit easier on myself because I'm not losing enough time for it to really be all that detrimental. And that should make certain boss battles in the future much easier because the Lightning Hawk is really powerful. So yeah, there you go. That is the perfectly sane and not completely random explanation about what I am doing and why it's different from the other playthroughs that I've done so far for the S Plus ranking. Oh, I mentioned I would talk about something earlier in this playthrough. I pointed out the helicopter zombies that were on fire, and I said to make note of them and that I would talk about them a little bit more later on, because I was under the impression that the fire damage they were experiencing would eventually finish them off. Well, I was proven wrong when I went to the art room with the scepter statue in it. The zombie I was joking about, the one that I said was a Sailor Moon superfan, yeah, that was actually one of the helicopter zombies that was previously on fire. At some point the flames were extinguished, and after all this time, it actually survived. So I don't know if it is not guaranteed that the fire kills them, or if the helicopter zombies always survive and I just never knew it and got really lucky that I never ran into one prior to now. But yeah, that is a thing that can happen. Now, the helicopter zombies do eventually despawn. I think that happens at some point after the first boss battle of the game. But yeah, they can apparently just hang out in that hallway all throughout the early game. So the next required stop is going to be the STARS office because it has a battery that I need for the detonator. I started to go that direction, and I also started to go through the locker room before changing my mind, and I decided to go do something optional instead, and even though it's optional, I would highly recommend it. What I decided to do was go to the 3rd floor and cut through the west side storage room and return to the library. Leon may have locked one of the library zombies inside the unicorn room, but there are still plenty of bookworm zombies hanging out in there, and I want to clear all of them out so they do not cause me any problems later. And I also wanted to move the bookcases into place so they can very easily be turned into a walkway later on whenever I get access to the jack handle. That will minimize the amount of time I have to spend moving those bookcases whenever I'm being chased by Mr. X later. The reason I wanted to clear out all the zombies in the library before going to the STARS office is because once I leave that office, Mr. X is going to be pursuing Leon. I would much rather take out all the library zombies before I am being chased by the super tyrants that I cannot defeat at this point in the game. So yeah, less hazards in the library and also less of a likelihood that Mr. X is going to punch me in the face. Now we have the opportunity to go to the STARS office. On the way, I grab some shotgun shells that are just sitting on a bench in the hallway. Then Leon presses on to the STARS office where we have a high concentration of useful items that we are going to be wanting to pick up, one of which is required, and the rest of it, well, they are optional, but I still want to be stealing everything I possibly can in here within reason. Of the items we are stealing from the office, there are going to be some more shotgun shells, a flash grenade, a first aid spray, and some handgun ammo. Oh, and there's also going to be the required battery that we need to combine with the detonator so it finally has power and can be used. And then there's going to be the big deviation from my previous S Plus ranking playthroughs. This time I am actually going to be opening up the STARS office locker room, which is where we get to pick up a new weapon. For Leon, that weapon is going to be the Lightning Hawk Magnum pistol. If I were playing as Claire, it would be the submachine gun. So I get to put the USB police badge into the computer, and after doing that, we unlock the locker room and I get to grab a very useful late game gun. Specifically, it should do some really big damage against some later versions of williambirkin. Also in the office, there is a red herb and a high-grade gunpowder, but I am going to be leaving those behind this time around. From there, I ran out of the STARS office and down the right side of the hallway to avoid Mr. X, who is lingering on the left side of the hallway. My next stop is going to be upstairs in the storage room where I get to make immediate use of the completed detonator. We're going to be planting that on some C4 on a barricade in that room, and that is what stands between us and the Maiden statue. Within the 10-second countdown, I have Leon do the library door trick one more time. That is where we hold the library door open so it prevents the bookcase from being knocked over by the explosion, and that also prevents the door from being blocked by that bookcase, which going through the library is going to be my preferred escape path. And alright, time to go ahead and kick that off. We have the C4 planted with the detonator. The countdown is going. I run to the library, I hold open the door, and okay, it worked. The explosion happened, the bookcase did not fall over, and I am free to run back through that door whenever it's time to escape here in just a moment. Back to the statue. After that, we rotate the proper symbols into place on the statue, that way we can get the Maiden Medallion, and then we have to face a hazard as we leave. If this was scenario 1, we would be getting ambushed by a licker who comes out of the ceiling. This is scenario 2 though, so instead we are getting ambushed by Mr. X. I just wait for him to show up and then I run around this column to avoid him. I'm just waiting for him to be roughly past the library door before I start running. And oh man, that is amazing. I do not remember seeing that in real time, but Mr. X just shoves the shit out of that common zombie right as he's coming after Leon. I don't know, maybe I've just forgotten, but I don't think I've ever seen that interaction before. And I'm pretty happy about it. I mean, it's kind of awesome anytime I get to see some new stuff like that, especially after playing through the game this many times. So, now we know. Apparently Mr. X can basically just do a Derrick Henry quality stiff arm on some regular zombies. So on that note, just give this man some pads and give him the football, and I think we're going to win, coach. Okay, back on track. That ended up amusing me way more than I was prepared for, but we gotta get focused. We have all the medallions now. All that is left is to use all of them together to open up the secret passageway and go see William Birkin version 1 one more time. So the in-game explanation for all the statues, the elaborate architecture, and the paintings that are just everywhere in the police station is that apparently the police station started off as a museum and then was transitioned into the police station. I feel like I said police station a lot just now. Oh well, we're leaving it in. But there's kind of something off about that explanation because even if this place was previously a museum, that does very little to explain why there is a secret passageway here. So I kind of get it whenever it comes to the Spencer Mansion. It was very remote. It was in the woods, in the mountains in the first game. I mean, that mansion had stuff like this, but it was also intentionally designed to be kind of a maze. Here in a publicly used building in the middle of the city, that's a little bit harder to explain. So that kind of just strikes me as something the designers of the game just really wanted to put in there, but didn't really have a good explanation for. So it's like, okay guys, we need to have a round table meeting here. We need this in the game, but we don't know how we explain it. We don't know the justification for it. So does anyone have any ideas? And then one guy just very timidly raises his hand in the back of the room. And he's like, yes, you back there. And then he just replied, well, what if it was a museum? To which the guy leading the meeting was just like, you know what? Fuck it, sure, why not? We don't have any better explanations. We're going to run with that. Alright, now that I've watched William Birkin slam our main character through the floor grate for a 6th time, well, we're just going to do exactly what we always do. We're going to stab the crap out of him until he eventually passes away. Well, not passes away, but falls over the railing, and then we have to face off against him numerous other times throughout the playthrough. So okay, William, get over here and meet my knife. Actually, you know what? I am tired of calling you William. I have just stabbed William Birkin version 1 so many times up to this point, it's kind of silly to continue being formal. So let's stop being so professional and start being more friendly. We're not going with Dr. Birkin, Professor Birkin, William Birkin, no. In fact, we're going to go with the full short form version of William, which I think for some reason is Bill. So from this point forward, you are going to be Billy Birkin. So Billy Birkin, you are going to continue to get stabbed until I feel satisfied with this fight. And for anyone just now watching this playthrough and not having watched any of the other playthroughs I have done for the Resident Evil 2 remake, yeah, this is basically my tactic every single time I fight against Billy Birkin. I do not like to waste ammunition here because it's way more useful elsewhere, so instead I make good use of every combat knife I acquire up to this point, which I think in this case was only 1, so we're going to be trying to get as much usage out of that as possible. But yeah, early on in the fight, it's really easy to stun him getting a bunch of stabs in because he's kind of going through some animations and not actually trying to attack you, so you get him stunned, and then you get a bunch of free damage as you continue to slash away at him. And I just keep doing that for as long as possible until either I'm about to die or the knife breaks. Whenever I have just one combat knife like I do in this fight, I tend to hold on to it as long as possible, and if Billy Birkin happens to grab me, I will normally take the damage until I cannot heal anymore and I'm about to die. If that is the case, which is happening in the background right now, I will go ahead and sacrifice the combat knife and stab it into the eyeball arm of Billy Birkin, that way I can get away and not die. Fortunately, I've already done a pretty good amount of damage to Billy Birkin, so losing the knife is not that terrible at this point. I will just have to rely on the handgun to go ahead and finish off the job, and hopefully I will not be wasting too much ammunition. After all, the whole goal of using that knife to begin with is to try and not waste any ammo on Billy Birkin, or as little as possible. Even with that being said, though, I only had one combat knife, so that's not super realistic. Like every other playthrough that I've done up to this point, none of them involved me beating Billy Birkin with only one combat knife, at least I don't think that was the case. So I was pretty realistic whenever I went into this, thinking to myself, you know, I'm probably going to have to waste that combat knife at some point, and I'm probably going to have to use some ammo. Not the end of the world, not a big deal. We still end up beating Billy Birkin, and now it's time to press on to the next part of the game.
Somebody's watching me.
Alright, now that Billy is down there in the sewer water somewhere, I am free to walk around the arena, and there's really not too much for me to pick up. Like, there were a bunch of extra items just laying around everywhere. But I picked up most of those during the fight, so there's really only one thing left, and that's a green herb. After I pick that up, I go ahead and go over to the ladder, that way I can make my way out of the arena, and yeah, overall that fight went pretty well, I guess. I mean, I already mentioned it earlier, I used way more ammunition than I intended to. Walking into the fight against Billy, I had 11 .45 caliber rounds, and walking out of the fight, I only had 4, so considering there was extra ammunition laying around the arena, I normally like to be walking away from that boss fight with more ammunition than I started off with. I definitely don't like walking away with less. But like I said before the fight was over, it is not going to be the end of the world, we can still definitely make this work. After all, the main goal is to try and run away from most of the enemies anyway and not try to defeat them, so hopefully the ammunition deficit that I'm currently in will not really be that big of a deal. We have a couple of cutscenes coming up, so I'll go ahead and finish up what I need to say before all those start off so I can be quiet during those. But yeah, all I'm really going to be doing at this point is dropping off all my healing items and swapping out the handgun with the shotgun, and grabbing some ammunition for it as well. Once all that's knocked out, I go ahead and go over to the ladder and climb up to the parking garage to watch those cutscenes, and I want you to pay attention to the fact that Leon is climbing out of the secret passageway, and he's only going through a manhole into the parking garage, which is downhill in a city that rains all the time. Keep that in mind, and I'll have something to say about that after the cutscenes.
Damn. Need a key card. You gotta be kidding me. Get off of me!
Hey!
Who is that?
Stay sharp. Lower it. FBI.
Sorry. Thank you. For your help.
Surprised you made it this far.
FBI, huh? What's going on here?
Sorry, that information's classified.
Where are you going?
Do yourself a favor. Stop asking questions and get the hell out of here.
We're going to follow her into the holding cells where she mysteriously disappears despite the fact there's only one entry and exit point for that area. And then I walk up onto a zombie that's inactive on the ground, just kind of laying there, sleeping as it were. On many occasions, that sleeping zombie causes me some issues whenever it comes to the jailbreak scene, and it's always right when I'm trying to get out of the building, and that's at the very end, right there blocking the entry point, exit point that I was just talking about. And if he grabs me whenever I try to run out of there, it causes all kinds of problems with the other zombies descending down on me, and also with Mr. X not too far behind. We go ahead and shoot him in the head, and we are not going to be letting him become any sort of problem for me later
I
on.
don't believe it. A real human. Hello, human.
You been here long?
Long enough. Are we the last ones alive?
No, there's a few of us.
Huh. That's good news, I guess.
Yeah.
That's of course Iron sent you.
Irons? You mean Chief Irons? Is he still around?
Who cares? Hopefully he's somebody's dinner by now.
What do you mean by that?
He's the bastard that locked me in here.
I'm sure he had a good reason.
He did. I was about to blow the whistle on his dirty ass. I'd have done the same thing to him, I guess. Hey, I'll make you a deal. Unlock this cell and I'll give you this. There's no other way out of that parking garage, believe me.
Sorry, I can't do that. I have to talk to the chief first.
Look, we're both prisoners in this station. So either we play nice and help each other out, or... Shit, it's coming.
What? What's coming?
Come on, don't be an asshole. Hey, you need this. Just get me the fuck out of here!
Oh my god. Who is that?
It's just me. So you can put that thing away.
I don't even know what happened. It just happened so quick.
I told you to get out of here. You wouldn't want to end up like Ben, would you?
You knew him?
He was an informant. Had information of use to my investigation.
So what he said was true? Hey, you can't keep walking away from me! I don't even know your name. I'm Leonskennedy.
Find a way out, Leon. Before it's too late. Then we'll talk. Name's Ada.
Well, I guess the deal's on.
All right, hello, Ben. Goodbye, Ben. And now begins the next part of the game. We need to go collect some panel parts. That way we can open up the jail cell and get the parking garage badge that our deceased friend Ben is wearing. That's going to involve us exploring the parking garage some more, going to the dog kennels, and finding our way back into the police station where we're going to find those panel parts. Well, one of those is going to be in the dog kennel area where there's a generator room where we can reactivate power to get back to the police station. The other panel part is going to be back in the police station in the clock tower on the 3rd floor, which we could not access previously because the only way to get to it is through the library, and we have to use the bookcases as a walkway to get to it. And we couldn't do that previously because one of the bookcases being held up by a jack that we cannot lower because we do not have the jack handle. So everything we do from this point forward is going to be to get those panel parts and ultimately end up in the clock tower. Then we're going to find our way back here to the jail cells where I alluded to it earlier. There will be a jailbreak scene with the zombies that's going to be pretty hectic. So yeah, we have all of that to look forward to. Although having set the stage for all of that, I'm now reminded there is something I'm supposed to be talking about. So earlier I mentioned to keep in mind that in the reigning Raccoon City, there is a secret passageway in the police station that takes you to a little industrial area that you can exit out of by using a ladder to climb up and out and into the police station parking garage. Now I want you to keep that in mind for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because it kind of ties back into what I was saying earlier about the in-game explanation for all the random crap in the police station being tied to the fact that it was previously a museum. But it being a museum makes no sense out of the fact that it was also having secret passageways and crap because museums don't really usually have secret passageways. But even then, this isn't some National Treasure, Da Vinci Code, Uncharted crap. I mean, the secret passageway isn't taking us to some crazy artifact that no one's seen for hundreds of years. No, it takes us down into an industrial area where presumably a bunch of people still work. So why did we need a secret passageway to connect the police station to some industrial area? And then why does that have an emergency ladder exit into the parking garage for the police station? I mean, it's cool to have a secret passageway, but it's not very secret-y. And now I'm thinking back to that meeting I was talking about earlier where we need to figure out an explanation for why a police station would have all this super secret crap in it, and the guy was just like, I don't know, maybe it was a museum? Well, they have a follow-up meeting. It's like, okay, well, why do we have a secret passageway that doesn't really go anywhere secret? To which he just replied, I don't know, maybe it's a museum still. Like, you know what? That's the best explanation anybody's come up with. We're still going to run with it. Granted, that's the only explanation anyone has given us also, so screw it. I'm not going to put any more effort into thinking this one through. We're just going to go ahead and run with that. Oh, and then there was the second thing. I pointed out the rain. The parking garage is downhill. Like, you have to drive downhill to enter it, and Raccoon City is raining all the time. Like it's raining right now in the Resident Evil 2 remake. It is also raining during Resident Evil 3's remake. This kind of leads me to believe the city is basically raining all the time, basically another version of Gotham City, which is also raining all the time. And with that in mind, because all the water has to go somewhere, it's going to flow downhill into the parking garage, there has to be some sort of a drainage system, some grates that take the water somewhere. And in my mind, I'm thinking, wait, wouldn't that mean all that water is just going to end up in that industrial area and flood that? So on top of it being a weird choice to have a secret passageway to get into presumably some other workplace, it's also a workplace that has to deal with the fact that all the water for the police station is just going downhill and flooding into it. I have so many questions about the architectural layout of this area. Like, I'm not an architect, I'm not a city planner or anything, but this seems kind of weird. Kind of like someone was just slapping some things together to make it flow well for a video game or something. Oh, and just to get you caught up on what's happening on screen, I managed to restore power to allow me to access an electronic door that was at least electrically locked, so I couldn't use it without power. And after doing that, I had to run by a bunch of zombie dogs, and eventually I found myself back in the police station. So I now have one panel part that was in the generator room where I restored power, and now I only have to go find the one that's up in the clock tower. So yeah, now I'm working on that, but going back to the whole where does the rainwater go whenever it flows down into the parking garage conversation, I did not originally come up with that on my own. It's honestly something I've never even thought of before. But something I like to do with these videos is show the game content to somebody that has no experience with the game prior to me making these videos. Because after I've played through the game a bunch of times, I kind of get used to some things and I don't really think about it too hard. Like there's some stuff that still stands out to me, but other things get overlooked because I'm just kind of used to going through the motions. So whenever I show it to somebody that does not play the game, every now and again they will catch something and actually ask some questions, and that was one of the things they noticed whenever we were laughing about some of the odd things about this game. And I'm like, you know what, that's a fairly good point. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there and kind of just make a joke about that in the next playthrough video. That is how that observation came to be, and that's also how some of the other ones I do also come up, so yeah. It's always kind of fun to get some people together and have a little bit of a Mystery Science Theater 3000 moment looking over the crazier aspects of some video games. Then we have some good banter, and sometimes it makes it into these videos. Now Leon is in the 3rd floor storage room on the east side of the building. We need to pick up a large gear that is in here, and it's going to be used for some improvised clock tower repairs here momentarily. After collecting that item, Leon needs to head out onto the roof where there's going to be a ladder that he tries to climb down, but it just falls apart on him. At this point, I would say if there was anyone still alive to hold liable, this would probably be a great opportunity for some kind of workplace injury lawsuit, because that ladder breaks way too easily. Like, I'm over here thinking and sensing maybe some sort of an OSHA violation, maybe some sort of employer negligence, something along those lines. So if this were any other day, Leon would probably be looking at a big settlement that might set him up for life, but no. We are in the middle of a zombie outbreak, so just go ahead and add that to the list of injuries that Leon just needs to rub some dirt on, and he's just going to have to keep on going. After prepping the water, I go ahead and shotgun some zombies in the legs. And unfortunately, I also have to spend a flash grenade to get by them, but still, I get by them all the same. Once I manage to avoid the zombies, I go into the utility room on top of the roof. And in the back of that is going to be a safe room with a key that is taped to a dry erase board. I do some quick inventory management to make room for that and make room for some additional items I'm going to be picking up along the way. Back outside on the roof, there are 2 green herbs that I want to pick up for healing purposes because I just have a hunch something is going to go wrong at some point and I'm going to need that. Those can be located underneath the stairs that we took to get to the lower portion of the roof. And once I am done with the inventory management, I go grab those and then I make my way back upstairs. There is one more herb that I want in the roof area, and it is going to be right next to the flaming helicopter on the inside of the building. So before I extinguish the fire, I go inside and I grab that. I go ahead and immediately combine that with a green herb, and now that I have all those herbs and I also have the club key, I go back outside to release the water onto the helicopter, extinguishing the fire, and now it's time to go say hello to a familiar fedora-wearing face. Well, there's Mr. X. He's already wearing a massive raincoat, so he should not mind Leon luring him out onto the roof where the downpour is taking place. Once out there, I have plenty of space to circle around him and then run back into the police station. That leads us into the hallway where the burning helicopter zombies were. Well, one of them even grabbed me earlier in the game. I'm not exactly sure when it happens, but I know by the time we leave the parking garage where all the zombie dogs were, the helicopter zombies that were on fire disappear. I mean, they may even disappear sooner than that, but I know for a fact they're gone by that point. So there's no chance of running into them again. I have some running around to do to get the jack handle and a bunch of other stuff. So I may as well circle back to what I thought was a one-off joke, but I found myself thinking about more and more. My joke earlier was that summoning the Deadites from the Evil Dead franchise couldn't make a zombie outbreak in Raccoon City too much worse. Most of the people in the city have already been turned into zombies anyway, so my initial logic was there wouldn't be very many living people for the Deadites to possess. Then it occurred to me, Deadites possess dead beings all the time. Like they have possessed decaying remains, full skeletons, does not matter. In fact, they even possess animals and inanimate objects from time to time, so they could easily possess zombies, giving them intelligence and abilities that they definitely are lacking right now. That alone would be a problem, but then I considered that meant that Deadites could also possess Mr. X or Billy Birkin. So I'm imagining a Deadite crossed with either a super tyrant or a G-virus mutant, and that just creating the ultimate demonically possessed nightmare fuel creature this game has ever seen. So yeah, I was way wrong. Deadites from the Evil Dead would definitely make this infinitely worse. While I am waiting on Mr. X, I should point out that I like to use this file room as a way of circling around him, so I'm not running into him in a hallway or something like that. I will wait for him to come into this room, circle around the cabinets, and get around him without having to actually run into his punching range. That being said, I watched this gameplay back with somebody else, and they asked me if it was stressful to be pursued by Mr. X. And I answered that yeah, it was pretty stressful at first, like the first few playthroughs, but once you know the route that you need to take and have a plan, it's pretty routine after that. The only time Mr. X stresses me out now is if he is doing something other than what he would normally do. And the filing room is a good example of that because normally he is right behind me, and I don't have to wait very long before I circle around that room and get away from him. So in the case of this playthrough, he didn't show up on time and I'm just left waiting like, "Can you just come through the door, please? I want to leave." And I know the moment I walk through that door and I get impatient, that is when you are going to decide to show up and punch me in the face. So yeah, Mr. X is pretty chill, especially after doing all these playthroughs. Unless he just decides to wander off unexpectedly and I have no idea where he is. Then I can get a little bit nervous. And after wasting just a bunch of time in that filing room, eventually, after killing 2 zombies who broke in before him, Mr. X decided to show up and run into the filing room. Then I did exactly what I intended to do, running around the cabinets, getting away from Mr. X, and getting into the hallway without him standing in my way. Although there was still one threat left in the hallway, and that was the licker. I was really hoping I could just run all the way to the exit before that licker could attack me, but, well, that did not work out the way I wanted to, and I ended up having to waste a grenade on the licker. It would have been kind of cool to look back and see its head explode, but I know Mr. X was not too far behind, so we just had to book it out of that hallway and head to the library. With the jack handle newly acquired, we go up to the bookcase and we lower it. Then we can shove them all into the right spot, that way they form a walkway. I go up the ladder and then I walk across those to the next part of the 3rd floor, an area that was previously not available to us. There is another part of the walkway that connects to the door to that 3rd floor area, but it's kind of a trap. If you walk on it, you're just going to break through the floor. So you have to walk on the bookcases. But courtesy of those bookcases, we had a mostly clear path all the way to the Clocktower. There was one zombie that kind of sort of was in the way. I mean, we possibly could have just run past it, but I went ahead and I played it safe. And then I blasted it in the leg with a shotgun shell. So, yeah, we were definitely safe after that. Within the Clocktower, we have to play the gear switching game. On the very first level of the Clocktower, there's going to be a mechanism immediately to the right where we use the big gear. That lowers a staircase, and after it is lowered, we go ahead and grab the big gear again, that way we can use it one more time. With that back in our inventory, we climb up to the 3rd level, and there's going to be another mechanism up there, but it already has a gear inside of it. That's going to be the small gear. We take that out, we put the big gear in, and then we take the newly acquired small gear to the 2nd level. One more mechanism is going to be down there. We put the small gear in it, and then suddenly the Clocktower is functioning again. It looks like we are pretty good at improvised clock tower repairs. Well, actually, maybe not.
Hope I don't have to write a report on this.
So yeah, saying that we repaired the clock tower might be a bit strong phrasing, but yeah. Doesn't matter, with everything falling apart, we now have access to the panel part box that fell down, and I'm pretty happy about that. Before you leave the clock tower, there is a back hallway that I run down to get some gunpowder. After I acquire that, I go back and get the panel part, and I play everybody's favorite game as Mr. X on the other side of this door. Now, Mr. X cannot enter the clock tower while I'm doing all these puzzles and stuff, but he can wait on the other side of that door, and he has done so on many occasions. And fortunately, I end up winning that game, and he does not immediately punch me in the face. Initially, I wanted to run down to the library to backtrack all the way to the parking garage, but then I realized that is exactly where Mr. X is going to be approaching from. So instead, I crossed all the way to the east side of the building. There is a storage room over there that we can unlock. We get that door unlocked, we run in there, and we start going down all the way to the shutter door that we opened up, and we go back into the hallway where the helicopter zombies were. From here, it should be a pretty chill run all the way back to the parking garage, and I just realized how untrue that statement was. I forgot about the dogs. So okay, it won't be a bad run to the parking garage, but once we are in there, we are going to have to run past all these zombie dogs one more time. Now, one of them got me previously. Hopefully the second time around is a little bit more damage-free. Well, I keep saying things are going to get difficult once I reach the parking garage, but technically that starts getting a little bit harder just before I get to the parking garage. Because the dogs are within the dog kennel area that we saw earlier. Then, once we get to the dog kennel area, we will end up going into the parking garage, and then the dogs have suddenly spawned in there as well. I think there are 3 of them in there, but I could be wrong. Oh, and I have not even been considering what comes after the dogs. Because my only reward for getting by all the zombie dogs is going into the jail cells, where we're going to have a jailbreak scene, where the swarm of dogs closing in on us in a very confined space is only replaced by zombies then closing in on us in a really confined place. With that in mind, I make a quick stop to the storage chest to get more healing items and also turn some of my gunpowder into shotgun shells, and then also pick up the Lightning Hawk pistol, and then pick up the Lightning Hawk Magnum. Because a lot can definitely go wrong here, and a lot of stuff has gone wrong here for me in the past, and I'd like to try and avoid that. So yeah, just a bunch of zombie dogs in a really closed-in area. Could go disastrous, could go just fine. Let's go ahead and find out. These zombie dogs were very kind to me whenever I was passing through the dog kennel area, and in the parking garage, things actually end up going overall pretty smoothly. I end up hugging the surfaces of everything that I can. That way it reduces the number of directions that these zombie dogs can attack me from. And it works out in the end. I make it all the way to the jail cells without taking any damage from the zombie dogs. Dog Run Part 2 definitely went better than Part 1. And then we make our way all the way to the panel. That way we can start putting in the panel parts that we collected all around the police station. And once I have all of those inserted into the machine, I do a quick puzzle where I try to line up the wires, at least I think they're wires. And then I create pathways for the electricity to be reconnected to the jail cells. That allows them to be opened up, and fortunately for me, the only one that did open was Ben's cell, so we are free to go ahead and pick up his parking garage badge.
Explain the rumors about the orphanage. I just find it way too coincidental Umbrella's one of the benefactors.
You told me this interview was about the new scholarship Umbrella setup.
Come on, Annette. Nobody cares about that. They want to know about the G virus and that big fucking sinkhole in the city, which, by the way, rumor has it goes straight to your underground lab. Now, are you going to talk to me, or are you going to...
This interview's over.
Bitch.
What are they after?
And here is where Ben's cell, being the only one that opened, is supposed to lure us into a false sense of security. Fortunately, I know exactly what's coming. I'm preparing for it now. All the jail cells are going to open, releasing the zombies. And instead of trying to bulldoze my way through them, I fall back to where Ben's cell was, and I allow them to start coming out of their cells and clustering together closer to me. Now, the first few I will slow down by shooting them in the leg with the shotgun. That way it allows all the zombies in the very back of the row to catch up and really create a good cluster for me to throw the hand grenade into. Ideally, that will kill all of them in one blast. Although this time around, one zombie lingered behind and survived, and I had to shoot it in the leg with a shotgun. After that, the only other obstacle I have is Mr. X, and I just have to try and play the game, avoid the fist, and hopefully I win. I don't do that initially because I get punched in the face, but Mr. X is nice enough not to follow up with a retaliatory second attack, and I am free to escape.
This is getting old. Saving your ass, that's twice.
I didn't realize you were keeping score.
Look, this isn't a game.
You're gonna kill me.
Nothing dies down here. Take it you have the key card.
Yeah, and this. I was hoping you could explain what's on it.
Maybe. After I hear it. Let's get out of here.
And after Ada shows up just in time to save us in the parking garage for a second time, we are finally leaving the Raccoon City Police Department. I go ahead and use the parking garage badge to open up the shutter. And immediately on the other side of that shutter is going to be a green herb on the right-hand side. I go ahead and grab that as well. To my knowledge, there aren't any other items out here, so don't worry about walking around and trying to find those. Although if I'm wrong about that, please let me know. And this is an area where Ada likes to stop and smell the roses unless you are the one dictating the pace. By that I mean she will go as fast as you go. If you run directly to Kendo's gun shop, she's a lot faster about getting where she needs to go.
Is that the intel you needed?
Unfortunately, no. Ben didn't come through.
Well, what exactly are you looking for?
More info on the people responsible for this mess. Road's out. Going through that gun shop looks like the only way. What a mess.
Now that we are inside of Kendo's gun shop, there are a few items that I want. One of which is going to be an upgrade to the shotgun, the other is going to be a hand grenade, and the last one is going to be some .45 caliber ammunition. It is noteworthy that the upgrade to the shotgun changes the amount of space it takes up in your inventory. Initially, it only takes up one spot. After the upgrade, it's going to take up two. Now let's go ahead and say hello to Kendo.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
I said, don't move.
I'm just passing through. I'm gonna ask you to lower that weapon.
I tell you what, you gotta turn around and go right back out the way you came in.
I think your daughter needs help, sir.
Don't tell me how to deal with my daughter.
Drop it.
No! Wait!
Step aside. We need to terminate her before she turns.
Terminate. It's my fucking daughter.
Ada. Just let them be.
Emma? Sweetheart, I told you to stay put.
Daddy?
Yeah, Daddy's here. Come here. Okay? Those fucking things outside. What they did to us. You're a cop. You're supposed to know something. How did this happen? Huh? She was our sweet little angel.
Mommy?
I was sleeping, honey.
okay? And I'm gonna put you to bed too, okay? Emma. Just go. Just give us some privacy.
You know, it's one thing to keep the truth from me, but why him? I want to find out what's happening here and stop whoever's behind it. Helping people like them? That's why I joined the force.
My mission is to take down Umbrella's entire operation. We may not make it out.
Whatever it takes to save this city. Count me in.
So there's going to be even more dialogue between Ada and Leon after this cutscene, so I'm just going to go silent until they are done talking and I'm able to do a little bit more of just strictly gameplay.
Heard of the Umbrella Corporation? They're a pharmaceutical company secretly making bioweapons. They have a virus. It turns people into indestructible monsters.
That explains the horrible things I've seen.
And that's why I'm looking for Annette Birkin. She's the one at Umbrella responsible for unleashing the virus. I'm going to bring her down. This is how we get to Annette.
Based on what you've said, the sewer seems fitting.
Well said. After you.
Gee, thanks. Can't imagine a real scientist being down here.
According to HQ, this leads right into Umbrella's secret facility.
Come on. Sewers are run by the city. How could they have a facility without the authorities knowing?
Welcome to corporate America. Umbrella's controlled Raccoon City for years.
Jesus! That an earthquake?
I sure as hell hope so.
What the hell?
Stay sharp. God only knows what's down here.
Alright, I'll go ahead and start chattering again. We have made it into the sewers in 58 minutes. So now we have a little bit over an hour to beat the entire game and make the S+ ranking, which is plenty of time. And up ahead, we are going to be facing off against a Leon exclusive boss. It also happens to be the easiest boss in the game, so as long as you know what directions to run in, it's kind of a glorified cutscene, but at least it's kind of a cool one. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a one-hit kill kind of boss, which I'm not going to complain about too much because that's exactly how it was back in the original Resident Evil 2 as well, so at least the creators are being consistent.
It's not too late to turn back.
No chance. You're stuck with me to the end. Ugh. Ugh. You sure this is the right way?
Unfortunately.
Wait there.
Alright, we have a gigantic alligator in the sewers that grew to its incredible size, all because some company introduced creatures containing chemicals that alter growth into its environment. And now it is huge and trying to eat a policeman in the sewers. I feel like I've seen this movie somewhere before. Oh yeah, that might be the movie. Alright, at the very end we just run down the middle of the sewers, we slide down the slippery slide of sludge, and then we shoot this little pipe to explode and blow the head off the gigantic alligator. Job well done. And I go ahead and stand next to the hand grenade I intend to pick up after Leon delivers this wonderful line.
Chew on that, you overgrown son of a bitch.
Absolutely extraordinary, and now we just wait for Ada to go ahead and lower the ladder so we can climb up there with her. And yeah, I kind of forgot about how much dialogue is between Ada and Leon at this part of the game, and I guess I'll just go ahead and go silent again so they can talk more.
Leon, up here.
What the hell was...
Just get up here. Can't say I didn't warn you.
You said the virus turned people into monsters, not reptiles.
Fair point. I'm just impressed you made it in one piece.
So let me get this straight. Umbrella sells monsters like that to who? Our military? Somebody else's?
They don't sell the monsters. They sell the viruses that make them. And Annette is who makes the viruses. Scary as that alligator was, Annette is far more dangerous.
Alright, character switch and secret weapon time.
Definitely William's handiwork.
Identify yourself.
Annette Birkin.
She's who we're looking for?
Not much time. Need to dispose of it.
We're here for the G virus.
That's not gonna happen.
I'm warning you, Doctor.
Oh, yeah?
Hey!
Stop! You'll never get the G virus!
Didn't expect that from a scientist. Leon.
Forget about me. Just go. Stop her before she gets away.
I'm right outside the facility, in pursuit of Annette. If it's not on her, it must be in the nest. Once it's in hand, I'll call for extraction. You can run, Annette, but you can't hide.
Alright, Ada, say the thing.
It's secret weapon time.
You are damn right it is, Ada. Alright, we have the EMF visualizer, which is going to be Ada's secret weapon. And this is one of those wonderful weapons where, whenever it's a cutscene, Ada can basically do whatever electrical techno magic gizmo bullshit she wants. But the moment we are controlling Ada, it's limited to basically just starting a bunch of fans. So yeah, the EMF visualizer is basically the hacker man bullshit tool that she gets to use to hack into any kind of electronics she wants whenever, it's plot convenient. I used it to overload that fan to crawl up into this ventilation system. You can also use it to open up certain doors, or I guess more specifically electrical locking mechanisms in the doors, but yeah. It's pretty limited whenever Ada's using it, but later on we see her using it in ways that we could not whenever we were controlling her, so I feel like you're holding out on me, Ada. I feel like you're holding out. It is kind of like in any other video game whenever you fight against a boss character and they're like super powerful, and then later on the boss becomes a playable character and they're way weaker than they were whenever you were fighting them. Yeah, the EMF visualizer is exactly like that. And now suddenly I'm having flashbacks to Chrono Trigger. So plot convenient bullshit aside, we are playing as Ada and now we're trying to catch up to Annette. Both of the companion characters, Sherry and Ada, have achievements related to their segments of the game. With Sherry, it's escaping a room within 60 seconds, and for Ada, the achievement is to get through this entire portion of the game without using anything other than the EMF visualizer. So no shooting the gun, basically, or using the one flash grenade that's available to you in this area. Although you're not going to see me bothering trying to get that achievement here. I've gotten it already, and it's much easier to just use the flash grenade whenever you have the opportunity, so that's what I'm going to do. And now we have a clear shot back to the elevator, although occasionally the zombie that we left in the previous room after we got through with the air ventilation section, yeah, it will come out into this area as well if you're too slow. Sometimes it will cut you off.
Got you now. Always been good at running, Annette. Give you that. Persistent bastard, aren't you?
And yeah, Ada also gets an encounter with Mr. X, although it is super duper brief, especially if you know where all the locking mechanisms are within the walls. Or I guess not really locking mechanisms, I guess they're the ways of routing electricity to electrical locks or the fans. I don't know, but you get the idea. We know where all those are located, and we're going to be able to get out of here before Mr. X can cause us any sort of trouble. Because once Ada hops through that fan, Mr. X can no longer follow us. Although I remember during my first playthrough, this part was kind of hectic, and I'm pretty sure it went very poorly with Mr. X actually catching up to me. Fortunately, I'm not going to have to deal with that ever again. So this part of the sewers, as well as the underground laboratory nest, they have a security clearance system that prevents people from accessing certain areas unless they have a wristband with a chip of a specific clearance level. Down here in the sewers, we really only need a clearance level 1, the lowest clearance. If you read the documents, they imply that there might be a clearance chip inside the garbage incinerator. So we open that up and go looking for a dead body inside of there. And as luck would have it, it does indeed have that clearance chip.
Bravo. Gonna burn me alive now. You'll never get your filthy hands on the G. I'm not the only one after it. You realize that?
And you won't die alone.
Alright, we have 60 seconds before the incinerator fully heats up and engulfs us in flames. And yeah, there may already be flames at the bottom of the incinerator, but fortunately Ada has fireproof feet and she should be okay. And fireproof Ada manages to find all 3 switches inside of the walls of this incinerator. Once you use the EMF visualizer on one, look back at the door, and there should be an electrical lock that allows you to interact with it after having messed with the part of it that's in the wall. So yeah, on 3 different occasions you have to look at the wall, hit the mechanism there, look at the door, hit the mechanism there, and then back to the wall, back to the door, back to the wall, back to the door. If you know where all of them are, you should be done with this in 30 seconds or less. This time around, I just barely make that time, getting out of there in 29 seconds.
Enough with this cat and mouse game.
The game is over.
You lost. Tell me, is your husband still alive? Or did you kill him so you could take credit for G?
Interesting theory.
If you don't cooperate, I'll get a sample from the nest. Over my dead body. Where's Leon when I need him?
Ada? Damn it. Ada? Where are you?
Alright, wakey, wakey, Leon, enough beauty sleep, it is time to move. Unfortunately for you, when you wake up, it turns out this whole Raccoon City zombie apocalypse thing was not just a really bad nightmare, and we still need to find ourselves a way out of this situation. Fortunately, you woke up in the next part of the game at least. No more police station, we are now down in these sewers. I just do a quick bit of inventory management before we press on, and then we get to jump from the high dive distance into the sludgy, disgusting water below. Eventually, we are going to be running into a new enemy type. I'll talk about that once we're a little bit closer to that enemy. But for right now, I press on down the sewers. There are going to be 2 tunnels, one on the left and one on the right. The one on the left is a dead end, but there are at least some shotgun shells down there. There is a downside to going down the left tunnel to get that ammunition, though. If you go all the way down the left side of that tunnel, it is going to aggravate a zombie that is on the right side of the tunnel that we actually need to go down to progress through the sewers. So I sacrifice being able to slip through this area somewhat undetected because I want more ammunition. That's okay though, we will deal with that in a moment. I run back down the right side of the tunnel and I end up finding a VHS tape on the ground. It was for the body camera of one of the USS agents. I don't need it by any means, especially whenever I'm trying to get through this as fast as I can, but I go ahead and pick it up anyway. And then the zombie that I aggravated by going down the left side of that tunnel Well, he nearly grabs me from behind and bites me in the neck, but fortunately I am just fingertips away from him being able to grab me, and I managed to escape. I shotgun him in the leg for his trouble, and then I continue on. I do the same thing to another zombie that's up here in the maintenance area. And then I go down some stairs. I find myself a very nice combat knife. I go ahead and pick that up and put it in my inventory. And then we go ahead and hop back in the sewage water where Leon gets to enjoy the most disgusting water slide of all time.
Shit.
Now up ahead is the enemy type that I was talking about. This is going to be the new Adult G monster that is specific to these sewers. I don't think they pop up anywhere else in the story mode. The first one we encounter is submerged underwater, at least mostly. Part of its back is exposed above the water, and if you were to shoot that before getting too close, the Adult G monster would pop up out of the water in a stunned state. You don't want to be too close because if you end up shooting it, even though it's stunned, the force from it jumping up out of the water will still hit you, which means you will lose your opportunity to run by it in its stunned state. So make sure you try and get as close as you can, but still at somewhat of a distance. Then shoot it, it pops up, run by it, and then proceed on to the water treatment control room where we get a cutscene and we get to find our new objective. Which, of course, is going to be finding a way to save Adawong.
I don't like the sound of that. Come on. Ada. I'm coming, Ada.
And even though picking up the body camera tape was completely unnecessary for an S+ ranking playthrough, I did it, so let's go ahead and watch it.
Please, stop. Stop. No.
Power here, you freak!
Don't hurt him.
The virus. I'll bet those rats spread it.
Okay, very good observation, Leon. Let's go ahead and keep that in mind because that becomes relevant here very shortly. But yeah, now it is time for my very first save of the game, which it is always great to reach this point whenever it's your first save because then you have the luxury of using your final 2 saves before some major boss battles, and yeah, it is nice just to have that available to you just in case you're running it a little bit close on time. You can kind of re-roll the dice, so to speak, and see if you can do better in those boss battles if absolutely necessary. Although, on the other hand, if you do end up dying before you reach this point, you are over an hour into the game, and that's a lot of time to lose to have to reset the entire game over again. So, while this is my preference, it can definitely go wrong. And okay, I'll go ahead and go back to something I said just a moment ago. I asked whoever watches this to keep in mind that Leon had a very good observation for that VHS tape, that body camera tape, where he observed William Birkin slapping the shit out of the Umbrella Secret Service, and then the vials of the G virus got broken and some rats started eating it, and the rats likely spread the virus all throughout the city. Now the reason I asked you to remember that is because the game actively encourages you to discard that VHS tape. This is true also whenever it comes to keys, whenever they are no longer useful to you. If you look in your inventory, there is going to be a little red check mark next to them, which is encouraging you to get rid of that item because it is now useless. But I kind of find that funny because that tape is some of the best evidence in the entire game. You have the Umbrella Secret Service, you know, official Umbrella security, so to speak. Actual employees of Umbrella handling the G virus while getting the crap kicked out of them by William Birkin in his mutated state, another Umbrella employee, one of their scientists. And then you also see a very likely way that the virus spread across the city through the rats. That is a crap ton of really good evidence that could potentially be used later on to incriminate Umbrella and then do studies of this whole situation in Raccoon City down the road. But no, Leon thinks the tape is useless, so he goes ahead and gets rid of it. And now this incredibly one-of-a-kind, incriminating, hard-to-replicate evidence is now disposed of for all of eternity. Now I'm just kind of wondering, like, Leon, are you a bad police officer? Like, I know this is your first day, but It kind of feels like preserving incredibly important evidence might be something that you know before your first day on the job. Like maybe they would have taught you that at the academy or something like that. I don't know. That just kind of feels like a topic that would have come up by now. Oh well though, as we established earlier, Leon is basically the only surviving member of the Raccoon City Police Department, so he's still the best police officer in this city by default, so congratulations, man. We'll just go ahead and keep your little secret about disposing of this incredibly important evidence. I would hate for that to be a blemish on your resume that would prevent you from getting some weird super secret agent job later on down the road that causes you to go to Spain and go rescue the president's daughter. Like, that seems like it would be a terrible opportunity to miss out on. Okay, enough rambling about tangents for just a moment. I should probably actually talk about what the objective here is in the sewers. So I am running around different parts of the sewers to try and find these plugs that are in the shape of chess pieces. Those are going to be used to open up a door that will allow us to get to Ada and rescue her. Most of the chess pieces are already in the control room, but we needed the rook key, which is in the maintenance area. And we also need the king and queen plugs as well, which are in a different part of the sewers that I'll be going to momentarily. But yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. And I should also probably comment on the adult G monsters a little bit more as well. I believe they are the first enemy in the game that can induce a poison state on your character, so if they grab you and you do not have a defensive item, as disgusting as it sounds, they're going to vomit up sewage and probably some other bile of some kind into your character's face, which will put them into a poison status unless you've recently used a green-red-blue herb combination. The reason that herb combination is relevant is because it offers you poison immunity for a brief period of time. In fact, while I'm at it, that herb combination will give you damage protection as well, where it reduces the damage you take. It gives you that poison immunity. It also gives you a full heal. And if you were already poisoned before taking the herb, it will cure you of that poison status. That is why that is relevant and useful whenever it comes to the adult G monsters. Another noteworthy fact about those monsters is that they cannot attack you whenever they are in the water and you are up on a walkway. Or at least it is really uncommon, because that's normally what I will do to get around them. I'll wait on a walkway until they submerge themselves in the water, and while they are locked into that diving animation, I will normally hop into the water and run away as quickly as I can, and normally I can get away before they resurface and attack me. I think those are all the notes I have on the adult G monsters. There is going to be a high concentration of them in a watery area just before a little puzzle that will allow us to get the remaining plugs. And I try to shoot this one while it's partially submerged just like I did the first time around, but unfortunately I was a little bit too close to this one like I warned earlier. And as a result, it pops out of the water and grabs me instantly, and I don't want to waste my defensive item on this. So Leon just has to eat a bunch of sewage vomit, and unfortunately I fall into a poisoned state. Or at least I briefly fall into that poison state because I do have a green-red-blue herb combination that I go ahead and use immediately after that to fully heal myself, get rid of the poison, and for the short-term future I have damage resistance and some poison immunity, so I should be okay. After I run by that first adult G monster, there is a second one that I throw a hand grenade at. That detonates and stuns it and allows me to run by it. Then there is a third adult G monster that's crawling out of a sewage pipe, but that one is kind of slow and not much of a threat as long as I keep running. Unfortunately, though, this is a second scenario, which means there's one more threat at the very end of the adult G monsters, which is just a random zombie. Which, compared to the adult G monsters, does not sound like it'd be much of a threat, but for one reason or another, I always have trouble getting by that guy. Like, I don't like wasting ammunition on him, but maybe I should, because every time I try to run by it, it seems like I get grabbed and I get bitten. Even so, with that damage resistance now available to me, courtesy of the green-red-blue herb combination, the damage I take is pretty minimal and I get past all the adult G monsters. Now, I referenced that zombie being a Scenario 2 exclusive because if this were Scenario 1, I would only have to worry about running by the 3 adult G monsters. That zombie at the end would not be there. Actually, while I am rotating the plugs in order to try and get the king and queen plugs and also the flamethrower before retreating out of this little maze area, I'll go ahead and reference another difference between Scenarios 1 and 2. Now, you just saw me shoot a random zombie that was hanging over a railway. Its head exploded and it's not going to be a threat to me, but if I were to leave that thing alone, eventually it would fall off the rails, and then it would become active and try to hurt me. That's why I shoot it in the head in advance, so that's not a problem later on. Now, that zombie will be there regardless of which scenario you are playing. However, this area offers a second zombie if this is a second scenario. He's just kind of randomly on the ground, and you can do the exact same thing with it. You can kill it in advance before it ever has the opportunity to get to its feet and get animated. Now, in this playthrough, I did not kill that one in advance, so whenever it got to its feet off of the ground, I kind of just had to sneak up behind it before it noticed me, and I shot in the back of the head, and fortunately the head exploded, so Even though I did not kill it in advance, the result was basically the same. However, if this were scenario 1, that second zombie on the ground would not be there, and the only one you have to worry about is the one dangling over the rail. And okay, enough explaining those differences between scenarios 1 and 2. I am done with the leapfrogging king and queen plug puzzle. And now it's time to go back out the way I came and face off against those adult G monsters and that random zombie one more time in the sewage sludge. Now, I mentioned earlier that my usual tactic for getting around the adult G monsters is hang out on the walkway, then jump off the walkway as soon as they start to dive underwater, and then run by them. In scenario 2, sometimes I can do that, and sometimes I cannot. And that's because of that random zombie. That random zombie completely screws up my plans pretty regularly, to be honest with you. It's more often than not that things do not go according to plan whenever he's around. And that happens here as well because he decides he's going to go ahead and climb up on that walkway with me and prevent me from waiting for the adult G monsters to get closer or do that diving animation. So I have to hop into that sewer water sooner than I wanted to. And then the adult G monster sees me, and once it sees me, it has no desire to dive underwater. Instead, it goes ahead and uses its big arm to slap down into the sewage water and try to hit me, which it does not even come close. Well, I guess close enough because it hits the water and it still stuns me. Had it not stunned me, I could have turned around and ran by it before I had the opportunity to recover, but I still try that trick anyway, even though it did stun me, and unfortunately, due to that stun, I'm a little bit too slow, it grabs me, and yet again, Leon gets sewage vomit in the face. That's okay though, because there's still just a little bit of time left on my poison immunity and my damage resistance, so it does not hurt me very much, and I do not get poisoned. After that, I used one more green, red, blue herb to go ahead and update my poison resistance and damage resistance. That way, if it continued to happen, I'd be okay, which good thing I did that, because I immediately got bit by the zombie, so I took reduced damage from that. And eventually I just retreated back to the walkway to allow everything to reset and try again. I still got grabbed by the adult G monster one more time, so that poison immunity did in fact come in handy yet again. And yeah, that was pretty disastrous. That was one of my worst attempts at trying to get back through the adult G monsters in this little sewage maze. But in the end, I did manage to get by all those obstacles and get back to the beginning portion of the maze where a new adult G monster reveals itself and charges at you, which you can avoid by hopping onto the platform to your right and just waiting for it to go back underwater and then trying to run by it while it's in that diving animation. Although don't waste too much time on that platform because the dead bodies then turn into animated zombies, and if you wait too long, they will attack you from the side or from behind. So yeah, just be aware of that. And okay, we are back to the water treatment area just outside of the control room now. I already picked up the shotgun upgrade from the safe earlier, so there's nothing more that I need in this area. I can go straight to the control room. And once I'm in there, all I really need to do is a little bit of inventory management. And then even though I saved for the very first time not that long ago, I will go ahead and save for the second time in the game because Williambirkin version 2 can sometimes be a bit of a pain if I don't have all the resources I want, and I'm kind of in doubt that I have them, so this could potentially be a luck-based boss battle, and yeah, that means I am definitely saving because I do not want to reset and do the whole sewers section one more time, or however many times it takes me to beat him. So yay, save and go kick the crap out of Williambirkin version 2. Oh no! I forgot! It's not William anymore. That's way too formal. We made a conscious decision earlier to put the formalities aside because we have fought each other so many times that we're now basically buddies. It is Billy Birkin. We're going to go fight Billy Birkin version 2. And okay, let me go ahead and address what I mean by I don't know if I have all the resources I need for this boss fight to be consistent and not a little bit lucky. Whenever it comes to Billy Birkin version 2, I want to have 2 flash grenades. Now there's one that's in the arena where we need to fight him, so I'm not too worried about going completely without the flash grenades. But normally for me to beat Billy Birkin version 2, I have to smack him twice with the storage container, which means I need to keep him in place on 2 separate occasions, which the flash grenades are perfect for that. And since I am only going to have the 1 flash grenade that is in the arena, I am only guaranteed to stun him 1 time. If I want to stun him a second time, I need to be using my weapons. Which, in retrospect, with the flamethrower and the lightning hawk, I really shouldn't have been as concerned about that as I was, but I was still a little bit concerned, so I guess call me overly cautious for this boss fight. Because the lightning hawk can do some massive damage all on its own, especially if you were shooting Billy in his eyeball arm. I do not know how many shots to the eyeball it would take to stun him, but I cannot imagine it would be a bunch with the lightning hawk. And on top of that, I have the flamethrower, which is one of the most useful weapons against Billy in the entire game, so yeah, I guess I was being a little bit overly cautious. But anyway, after I got all the chest piece plugs in place, the door opened, I grabbed all the herbs along the way to the electrical room, I flipped the switches to restore power, and then sure enough, Billy Birkin punches his way through the wall, causing it to collapse a little bit at the door, preventing me from using that as another entry-exit point. So I duck into the one side of the room where he cannot hit me by punching through the ceiling, and I just wait it out. After Billy punches through the ceiling 5 times, he gets tired of the reverse whack-a-mole and he decides he's going to go ahead and take down that shutter door. Now normally he gives off a big bellowing roar whenever he's about to do that, but as long as you counted 5 punches, you can just go ahead and position yourself in front of that shutter door. I always run at the leftmost side of that door, that way as soon as the door is broken down, I run right by Billy Birkin before he has the opportunity to hit me. And then I am running down that walkway as fast as I can and just hoping I can jump down into the arena before Billy Birkin can catch up to me and hit me. Now once the jump is activated, I have a few invincibility frames there, so even if he swipes at me, his big mutant claw hand will just go right through me. Although if I'm a little bit too slow, he can cut me off before I can start jumping and it will cause some damage to me. But jumping into the arena damage-free was a success, and now it's time for the real fight to start up. I went ahead and I immediately prepped the storage container by hitting the button to move it out of the way. And once it's moved completely to the opposite side of this construction site, you can interact with the control panel again, hitting the opposite button to swing it back over here onto this platform as fast as it possibly can. That is going to be the trick to doing big damage to Billy Birkin. The thing is, Billy Birkin likes to move around quite a bit. Sometimes he will even pick you up and hold you in the air unless you have a defensive item, which means, well, that storage container is going to hit both of you, which will kill you. So in order for the storage container attack to be the most productive it possibly can be, we need to stun Billy Birkin. And we also need to make sure that whenever he is stunned, he is taking a knee in a specific part of the platform that is directly in the path of that storage container. Like for instance, if we stun him right by the buttons, the storage container will not hit him. So it will be entirely a wasted effort, whether that's wasting a flash grenade or just wasting a bunch of ammunition. Recognizing that I only had the one flash grenade that was available to me beside the control panel, I start off the fight by shooting Billy Birkin as much as I can, hopefully in the eyeball with the lightning hawk, and that's all in hopes that I can eventually stun Billy Birkin in the storage container path. My intent was to stun him once with the weapons first. That worked out well the first time because I was able to hit him with the storage container after successfully stunning him, and I was a little bit concerned that I had not done enough damage to successfully win the fight with only 2 storage hits. So I did not immediately use the flash grenade once everything was prepped and ready to go for the second storage container hit, which is why I ended up using the Magnum even more and then also incorporating the flamethrower into this fight. That way I could get a second storage container hit using those, and then if I needed to do a third storage container hit, at that point I could use the flash grenade. As you can tell from the cutscene in the background, I did not need to hit him a third time with the storage container, 2 was enough, and I get to walk away from this boss battle without using the flash grenade, which is actually a little bit better, because Leon's second to last Scenario 2 boss battle, that is where the flash grenade is going to be way more useful anyway, so I'm kind of glad that this worked out the way that it did. I will explain why I feel that way a little bit more in just a moment.
Come on. Ada! Ada, where are you?
Over here!
Ada! I was getting worried there for a sec.
I can't get it out.
I don't know if I should,
Just do it. I can't walk like this.
Okay. It's gonna hurt. Hold on.
I can do it myself.
Just relax, okay? So, what do we do now?
Get yourself out of here. Well, you still can.
I'm not just gonna leave you. Not like this.
You don't understand. The situation's worse than I thought.
You're not getting rid of me that easy. You protected me. Now it's my turn.
Didn't realize we were keeping score.
grab my shoulder.
Don't push it, rookie.
Okay, I'm just trying to help. Watch your step.
You want to help? We have to get to the nest.
Nest?
Umbrella's lab, right beneath us. Annette let it slip. That's where the virus samples are. You up for this?
Think I could fit it in my schedule?
Come on. We got work to do.
Yes, ma'am.
And yet again, these two have more dialogue between each other, so I'm going to go ahead and go quiet here and let them talk.
The cable car will take us down to Nest. Yeah, wristband's our ticket to ride.
Nice. Where'd you get that?
Borrowed it. Anyway.
Or at least I'll let them talk further once I am done at the storage container, because I want to replace the Lightning Hawk with the M1945 caliber handgun.
Almost there.
Actually, I looked ahead into the video, and these two don't talk to each other at all for the remainder of our little stroll to the rail car. If you were to go a little bit slower, normally there's a little bit more dialogue between Leon and Ada, but I guess with her just limping along and you being able to take a very large lead when getting to the rail car, eventually you were just out of earshot and not able to continue that conversation, so yeah, gee whiz, that is a thing.
This may be a one-way ride, so be prepared, Leon.
This tram is bound for Nest. Do not exit until the final destination.
You know what I was thinking? I can't wait for the FBI to raid Umbrella headquarters and take those bastards to justice.
I agree, but to be clear, you're not working in official capacity. This is a federal case. Once we get the G-Virus, I'm back on my own. Hey, Leon. Trust me?
Trust me?
Honestly, if I didn't, you'd probably be dead.
Right.
I thought I might need your help, and I was right. If you can secure the G-Virus, I can make sure what happened in Raccoon City never happens again.
Ada, you said it yourself. It's a federal case. I don't
Leon,
have the authority.
Look at me. I'm a liability now. If I'm gonna finish this case, you're the last hope I've got.
I'm not just gonna leave you here. What if you're attacked? What if you need help?
I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. I gotta see this through. And I want to see you again. I got plenty to live for, trust me.
Now, arriving at Nest.
Go. Please, we don't have much time. You're gonna need this.
Okay.
Leon. Counting on you.
I know.
So, okay, about that totally romantic kiss between Leon and Ada, I'm going to be that guy right now and remind everybody watching this video that Leon, he was grabbed and received at least 3 different doses of that vomit spit to the face by the adult G monsters. So I'm kind of feeling bad for Ada right now because she really had to commit to her character of super secret spy and act like that was a wonderful kiss, because I cannot imagine how disgusting and how horrible that must have tasted. And smelled. And now her lips are probably rotting off in the rail car as we speak. It's enough to give you shivers, really. I guess I'll go ahead and insert my own fan theory here that the only reason her entire face isn't melted off by the next time we see her is because at some point between laying in garbage that entire time and being in the rail car while we do the rest of the plot of the game, Ada finds a red-green-blue herb combination which, as we know, pretty much cures every ailment known to mankind, and was able to prevent the adult G monster's sewer vomit spit from melting off her face after that totally... yeah, we'll just keep calling it a romantic kiss. You kind of need to give Ada a standing ovation for the acting performance she is putting on tonight. And while Ada is thanking the Academy for being awarded for her performance, I should probably actually explain what I am doing right now. So we took the rail car down into the secret laboratory nest, and I need to find a way to get further into the laboratory because I can only get so far with a level 1 clearance. And it turns out that there is a doctor in the napping area that may have a higher clearance, so I broke through the cafeteria, I went up into the ceiling to get around the door that would prevent me from being able to go through it because I don't have a high enough clearance. And then I dropped down into the kitchen to circumnavigate that. And after I get done getting by the armored zombie, I go into the napping area and I find that the, I guess now late Dr. Lee ended up dying whenever this place locked down because the shutter closed down on the napping bed that he was using, and it nearly amputated his arm, which is now dangling out of that napping bed and happens to also have a clearance chip on it that I need. It's going to be a level 2, so we go ahead and rob the dead, and with that we should be able to get further into Nest. Oh, also in that napping area is going to be an upgrade for the flamethrower, so I make sure to get that, and I go ahead and grab some shotgun shells as well. You know, there's something I said I would explain more that I never got around to, and what I wanted to explain was why it was actually beneficial not to use the flash grenade against Billy Birkin version 2. And even though it wasn't intentional, I am happy to be carrying that flash grenade into a later boss battle. Because Leon's second to last Scenario 2 boss battle, that is where the flash grenade is going to be way more useful anyway. So I'm kind of glad that this worked out the way that it did, because the penultimate boss of the game is going to be much more susceptible to flash grenades and hand grenades than this boss was to the Magnum and the flamethrower. So while I did not necessarily plan to hold on to the flash grenade, I'm very glad that I did. So just keep an eye out for that being used later on. I will definitely explain why it is so useful whenever the time comes. But yeah, you're probably going to see me using as little of the hand grenades and the flash grenades as possible going forward and trying to pick up as many of the leftover ones in Nest as I can. Oh, and also at the moment I am backtracking to the napping area. Before advancing too far further into Nest, I ended up finding a signal modulator that can be used to restore electricity at certain panels all throughout Nest. There are 3 panels in total, I believe, and one of those panels is back in the napping area. If we go back there and we restore power, it opens up the shutters on the beds, and we can start picking up some items that are on those beds. I really only want one, and that is going to be the hip pouch that's going to extend our inventory by 2 spaces. This is definitely not required, but I'm already right here with a signal modulator to make it happen, so it just kind of made sense to maybe take 1 minute to backtrack and go get that. It is not much of a time waste at all, and it definitely gives me an advantage having more inventory space. The only other thing you can pick up out of the beds is going to be a note by Dr. Wayne Lee. It is in the same bed as him, but remember he is also undead, so whenever you do open up those shutters, his zombified body is going to fall out of that bed and probably try to attack you. So if you want that note, you might have to fight for it. Me, I'm not interested in that note, so Dr. Wayne Lee can just stay in there and sleep it off as long as he wants to. I do not care. And now we are done collecting items at the very first part of Nest. We can get past the entrance because we are now in the elevator hub. With the level 2 clearance chip, I extend the, extension bridge, and I can cross to the center point where the elevator is. From there, if I'm ignoring the entrance I just came from, there are 2 options. There's going to be the lab to the west, where I need to end up to get the G-Virus sample that we need with Ada, and there is going to be the east, which is going to facilitate my means of eventually getting to the west, because right now the west is not available to me until I have a level 3 clearance. And since I only have a level 2, it looks like we are going to the east to try and find a level 3 chip. Now that I am within the east area, an entirely new part of Nest, and it's going to be pretty extensive all things considered, there are going to be a lot of items I need to pick up along the way, so I immediately go to the storage box in the very first safe room that's in this area, and I drop off all of the healing items I have and a couple of other things until I'm basically just left with the shotgun shells, and a combat knife. Oh, and the signal modulator. With only those items remaining in my inventory, I go on to try and find as much useful stuff as I possibly can to help me out in future battles. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm definitely going to be looking for as many flash grenades and hand grenades as possible. Now, immediately after the safe room is going to be an area that's kind of a viewing or an observatory area that looks in on a greenhouse. From that observatory room, as soon as we walk through the door to enter it, we see that somebody in a hazmat suit has been pressed against the glass by a gigantic plant. The person within that suit's definitely dead at this point, or at least I would certainly hope so. But more importantly, that person in the hazmat suit has a glowing wrist. Why is it glowing? Well, Mr. Hazmat happens to have a level 3 clearance chip on his wrist, and we want that. So almost as soon as we enter the east area, we know what our objective is going to be. We have to find a way to get that body to fall to the ground. That way we can once again rob the dead and get that clearance chip. Which I suppose brings me to the next thing I should probably explain, which is what I am doing right now to make that happen. So yeah, we know we need to get the body to fall to the ground. The means of which I am going to do that involves a chemical that can be used to kill the plant. Now you may have seen me doing it in the background already, but I activated the sprinkler system which released some kind of a solution onto the greenhouse plants, but it didn't really do anything to them other than saturate them with whatever the chemical was. Plants, they seemed just fine to me. Now if I was reading the documents, we would find out that that is because the solution was not cold enough. It's only effective at a very low temperature. So even though we just did it, we're going to have to do the whole process over again, go collect some more solution from a machine, and then go find the cryogenic lab. That way we can very rapidly and efficiently cool down the solution to where it is the perfect plant killing temperature. And after we have done all of that, we have to return all the way back to that greenhouse control room, insert the solution capsule back into the place where we found it, and then activate the sprinkler system one more time and hope for the best, and maybe just possibly it will be just enough to kill the plants on a second attempt, and we can get that upgrade to our clearance and proceed on to the west area. And alright, so far so good. We managed to avoid the plant people in the greenhouse, or maybe not necessarily avoid, but put up just enough of a fight to get past them, because I did end up getting grabbed by one of them, but I used the one combat knife that I had in my inventory to stab it in its plant face or arm or whatever vulnerability it had as a plant man. I pushed it off of me and then ran down the ladder as fast as I could to get away from them. And on that note, the plant people are a new enemy type that is introduced within Nest. We do not see them anywhere else in the game except for this final portion, which is probably a good thing considering just how strong they are. The plant people are one-hit kill machines. If they grab you and you do not have a defensive item in your inventory, well, get ready to reset, because those plant people turn into the most deadly Venus flytraps ever. Their faces open up, and then they start crunching down on your skull enough to kill you, and they are one-hit kill machines. So keeping that in mind, I'm kind of glad they waited until the very end of the game to show up. And naturally, since we just got introduced to them, we are not done. We are going to be seeing them quite a bit in Nest, or maybe not quite a bit, but definitely more than just that. With the explanation of the new enemies out of the way, this area that we retreated to is the cryogenic lab hallway. They use the signal modulator to restore power to this area, which is a requirement because you cannot access the cryogenic lab with the power off. That is because the entrance to the lab is an electric door, so naturally the electric door is not going to work without electricity. And then I ducked into the safe room, which was newly available to me because it was also an area that was not accessible without the electricity. I went in there and I picked up some useful items and dropped off whatever I did not need before pressing on to the cryo lab. And whenever I do get close to that laboratory, I slow down significantly, and that is because at some point when you get close to the cryogenic lab door, two lickers are going to come out of the ceiling. One will land on the floor and the other one will remain on the ceiling. If you go too quickly whenever they decide to pop up, well, naturally the two of them are going to gang up on you and attack you, and it's probably not going to end very well. At the very least, you're probably going to waste an item that you would rather have held on to. But they did not notice Leon whenever he went into the cryogenic lab, and now we're talking to Wally. We gave him our capsule, and Wally accepted the capsule full of solution, and now he has rapidly cooled it for us. Thank you, Wally. And now we have a way to take down the plants in the greenhouse. We just have to make our way back there. So I will be tiptoeing past the lickers in order to make that happen. There is another way to get back to the greenhouse control room, but I'm not going to be bothering with it. Instead, I'm going to be going back the exact same way that I took to get here in the first place. And you'll notice that the lickers are no longer on the ceiling and floor in front of the other door. While I was in the cryogenic lab, they decided to relocate, and now they're going to be in our path trying to get back to the greenhouse. That's really not a big deal whatsoever though, because the lickers are in an oblivious state, so I can easily just tiptoe past them. They'll fall into an investigative state after that, a curious state. But I'm not going to stay around long enough for them to figure out where I am or even really realize that I am in there with them to where they get furious and start trying to attack me actively. No, I silently get by all of them and get back to the ladder and climb up into the greenhouse again. I managed to get by all the plant people, and now it's time to disperse that cold solution. That way we can kill the plants and go after that clearance chip.
Dispensing solution now.
Mr. Hazmat is down and we need to hurry up and get over to him as fast as possible because the plants, well, they don't entirely die, especially the plant people. They just fall down for a moment stunned. I pick up the blue herb along the way, I run to Mr. Hazmat, I get the level 3 chip, and then I try to book it back as far as I can before the plant people get up. Doesn't really work out that way because they get back up in time to try and counter me, so I am forced to use a hand grenade that I would rather have held on to, but that will stun them again, and then suddenly Mr. X shows up. I try to throw the flash grenade just in time to stun him before he can get in my way, but he gives me a good punch for my trouble before the flash grenade goes off and blinds him, so I got hit, but at least he is stunned and I can get away without him getting in my way further. Fortunately, the plant people who were stunned by my hand grenade earlier have not gotten back up, so I still have a clear path out of here. I run back to the greenhouse control room as quickly as I can, and in the side lab beside the control room, there are going to be 2 more plant people that have spawned. I shotgun both of them, they stumble around and let me run by them. And then I go back into the observatory room, and finally I am back in the safe room where Mr. X and none of the plant people can get me. I don't stay in there long, but it is just long enough for me to sigh a breath of relief because that is a very hectic part of the game. Especially with Mr. X and the one-hit kill machine plant people. All of them surrounding you is not a fun feeling, definitely a stressful part of the game. But it does not matter now that we have the level 3 clearance. We go back to the elevator hub, we extend the bridge to the west area, and now we are free to go to the Birkin family lab and try to find the G-Virus sample. Now once the bridge to the west area is fully extended, I go over there, and just beyond the first doors for the west area, we are going to find the dead remains of another Umbrella Secret Service member. I really wanted to pick up the hand grenade directly beside it because again those grenades are going to be super useful, but I end up picking up the cassette for his body camera by mistake. That's okay though, we're going to go ahead and hold on to that VHS tape and we'll make use of it here in a moment. I mean, we already watched the body camera footage in the sewers. We may as well watch its companion video here in Nest. But first, before we can start watching any home movies, we have to restore electricity to the Birkin family lab, which means the signal modulator gets used for the final time. Okay, we find the AWS signal pretty quickly, so electricity is restored. Let's go ahead and make use of the VCR and watch the body camera footage.
Got eyes on the G-Virus. Going in. Dr. Birkin, you'll come along with us quietly.
You think I didn't know you were coming? This is my life's work. I'm not handing over anything.
We have our orders, Dr. Birkin. I'll ask you one more time. Stop! Hold your fire! What the fuck were you thinking? Our orders were to bring him in alive. We're in, sir. But we had a snafu. Target resisted. We had to take him out. That's correct, sir. Roger that. Just the samples, then. Let's move.
So those were G samples.
And okay, that is another crucial piece of evidence that we have found. I would love to tell you that Leon held on to this VHS tape because, you know, it visually shows the death of William Birkin, him taking ownership of the creation of the G-Virus while working under Umbrella, and Umbrella's willingness to kill a man to try and steal the virus back from him. All of which is very important evidence that could be used to help bring down Umbrella after all of this is over.
That was easy. Alright, now back to Ada.
But no, just like with a key that's been used at every door possible, there's a little red X next to it, which means the game wants you to get rid of it. The game wants you to dispose of crucial evidence. Which I guess is a way of saying that Leon wants to get rid of the evidence. I don't know, Leon, I'm really starting to think you're pretty bad at your job right now. Don't want to say it, but I'm kind of feeling it. But just for you, I will yet again keep the secret of you disposing evidence from anybody else. That way it does not get in the way of you getting future jobs. I would really hate for you not to someday become some kind of a super secret agent who goes over to Europe and keeping some other variation of parasite zombie infection from spreading to the rest of the world. So just because I'm concerned about your future, I won't tell anybody about you getting rid of this very important evidence that seems like it's really something you should be holding on to. Just saying. Okay, I have saved for the third and final time, and I am sending Leon headfirst into the next boss battle equipped with the flamethrower and the shotgun, and those are going to be my only two weapons going into that fight. I made sure to grab a couple of defensive items just in case I need them, but I'm really hoping the next boss mostly just goes down after one shotgun shell and just a bunch of fire.
William, you left me no choice.
You called this thing William. Why?
It shouldn't have been like this. It's Umbrella's fault, this whole mess.
You're Umbrella too. You're telling me you weren't involved in this?
Yes. But we never meant for this to happen.
Then tell me everything. Right from the start.
You don't get away that easily.
Good God, William. What have you done?
So you made this monster.
We made the G-Virus, but we never intended this.
You spin it any way you want. You're still responsible.
And now we get to have a showdown with my favorite version of Billy Birkin. That's going to be version number 3. Now, version 3 is not a hard fight, but I really enjoy the design of Billy Birkin version 3. Beating him is going to be as simple as igniting him on fire and keeping that fire burning the entire fight. I always open up with a shotgun, just shooting one of his many eyeballs, that way it stuns him. And after that, I don't really use the shotgun until the very end of the fight, and that's only if I happen to run out of flamethrower fuel, which does not happen often. The flamethrowers should be plenty when it comes to ending this fight. I will just continue spewing him with flames until he starts moving towards me, and whenever I see that, I will immediately run to Billy Birkin's left, and that is because nearly every single one of his attacks can be dodged by just simply running to the left. So yeah, I run past him to the left, and while he is still locked into his attacking animations, once I have enough distance, I will turn around and continue just burning him alive, or I guess... Wait a minute, is Billy Birkin still alive? Like, I know the zombies are undead, but... Billy Birkin was infected with the G-Virus, turning him into an adult G-Monster variant, I think, so... Is that the same as being a zombie? Like, it's kind of hard to look at this and compare it to one of the many zombies we have been killing throughout this entire game and saying those are the same thing. I'm gonna go with the assumption that Billy Birkin is dead, but I suppose a part of him could still be in there. Whatever, we're gonna set him on fire and we're gonna keep doing that until he's actually dead. Like, fully. I do love it whenever he gets locked into these throwing animations whenever he's trying to throw the scenery at you. That means he cannot defend himself, and it's just a bunch of unavoidable damage that you can put on him and nearly kill him. Although you cannot kill him during a throwing animation, you can only kill him after. But still the damage stacks up, it just cannot be the killing blow. And down goes Billy Birkin version 3. That was a really efficient fight in hindsight. Like, I got hit once, which is really unfortunate, but I don't believe he ever hit me more than that, and that felt like a really, really fast Billy Birkin version 3 fight. Like, I think that may have been the fastest one that I have done in any of these videos. And even counting the personal playthroughs that I have done that I did not do videos for, I think that's probably one of the fastest ones that I have done. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, enough gushing about the fight that is over. I am circling the arena and I'm picking up useful items, which is mostly going to be a bunch of 45 caliber ammunition, some healing items like first aid spray, and also some additional flash grenades, hand grenades, what have you. After I get done collecting all of those useful items, I return to the elevator to have one final conversation with Mother of the Year 1998, Annette-Birkin. If you are curious why I call her that, check out the Claire playthroughs and it's a lot more obvious. I guess putting it simply, it's mostly because of how she treats Sherry throughout this entire game, but yeah. Check out any of my Claire playthroughs if you want a better understanding.
Jesus. That looks bad.
Feels worse. Believe me.
Talk about what you said. I don't know how much I believe.
Just tell me you'll destroy that G sample.
No, it's evidence. It's going to the FBI.
You trust that bitch?
What's that supposed to mean?
She's not FBI. She's a mercenary. She's gonna sell it. The G-Virus is gonna go to the highest bidder.
Bullshit.
I hope you're right. But if the G-Virus gets into the wrong hands...
Okay, at this point we have about 14 minutes to beat the game and still qualify for the S+ ranking. I have to beat the game in under 2 hours, and right now we are at about the hour and 46 minute mark. This is not quite as much of a photo finish as it was whenever I was playing Claire Scenario 2, but it's still pretty good.
I was just thinking about you.
That makes 2 of us. I was getting worried.
No, we make a good team. I gotta ask you something.
Way's clear. Please, tell me you got it.
Oh, I got it.
Let me verify the G sample and we get the hell out of here.
Before we do that, I ran into Annette. And she claims you're not FBI.
Oh, Leon. Why couldn't you just hand over the sample?
Because I realized, as much as I wanted to trust you, I didn't.
I really hoped it wouldn't end up like this.
So that's all this was. I was just some pawn to you?
Look, I'm just doing my job.
And I'm doing mine, so drop that damn gun! I'm taking you in.
Hand over the sample, Leon. I don't want to hurt you.
And you shoot me. But I don't think you can.
No one gets that sample now. It's not worth it.
Don't do this.
Take care of yourself, Leon.
No!
Okay, remember that cutscene did not count against my in-game time, so we still have about 14 or 13 minutes to beat the entire game and qualify for the S+ ranking. And following that cutscene, the 10-minute countdown has begun. Nest is going to self-destruct. So just to beat the game alone, it is going to be a race against time. We have to finish the game in under 10 minutes, which means the race against time is also going to be applicable to getting the S+ ranking, because if I only have 10 minutes to beat the game and 14-ish minutes to get the S+ ranking, just beating the game at this point means I get the S+ ranking. So as long as I just don't get killed by any of the enemies and don't waste so much time that this place explodes with me in it, it looks like we are going to be successful in getting the final S+ ranking that I need, because I've gotten it for every single other character in every other scenario except for this one. So let's go ahead and figure out what our escape plan is going to be and make this happen.
Who's that? Claire!
Leon? You're down here too!
Yeah, but the whole place is coming down. Listen to me. You need to get out. Fast.
Yeah. There's a way out. We can make it. Where are you now?
Claire, are you still there?
Leon? Hey, Leon, you're breaking up.
Forget about me. Just get out of here. Damn it.
We now know that Claire has discovered a way out of here, so we need to follow in her footsteps. We are either going to need to try and find the exact same way to escape, or we are going to need to find a different way. So we are descending further into Nest, and fingers crossed we managed to pull that off. It is not going to be an easy accomplishment though. Countdown to detonation aside, there are going to be enemies that try to get in our way. As we ride more elevators deeper into Nest, first enemy type that stands out is going to be the plant people. I can run by some of them, but others are much more active on their feet, which means I need to use the shotgun to hit one of their vulnerable areas, or at least one of the many ones that are on their body. Fortunately, the buckshot is pretty useful for that. After I get by the plant people, I descend down a ladder to the next portion of this lower section of Nest. But even though I got past the plant people, it's not like I'm going to be getting out of here all that easily, because I get greeted by an old friend of ours. In fact, the last time we saw him was also when we were surrounded by plant people. It is going to be Mr. X. He basically does a superhero landing from nowhere, and he cuts us off as we try to escape.
Gotta keep going.
And okay, the penultimate boss fight is coming. I go ahead and use the storage box to prepare for that. I need to ditch a good amount of items here because I need to make room for the hand grenades, and I need to make sure I have plenty of flash grenades. Going off of memory, I should have 5 flash grenades and I should have 4 hand grenades. I also need to keep 2 inventory spaces open so I can pick up the joint plug to activate the big platform elevator to take us down to the bottom of Nest. So I think I'm going to deposit at least 1 of the hand grenades to make that room. And any extra inventory spaces I have get filled up by healing items that I will need to just try and survive this second to last boss fight. Okay, I think I have everything that I am going to need. Let's go ahead and kick off the fight. It is time to finally take down Mr. X. So let me explain what the plan is here with all the hand grenades and the flash grenades. To kick off the fight, I shoot Mr. X a bunch of times in his exposed heart, making good use of the shotgun until he's eventually stunned. After that is when I switch over to the grenades. I start off with the hand grenades, waiting for him to recover from his previous stun state, then I toss the grenade so it will detonate just before he can go over to me and attack me. Every single time he is hit by a hand grenade, it stuns him again. What I want to do is stun him 3 times. To my understanding, the number of times you stun Mr. X will impact how long this fight goes on because it is not a fight you can win with sheer force. You just need to survive long enough for the only way to beat Mr. X to be introduced to the fight. And the max amount of times you can reduce the amount of time it takes for that item to be introduced is 3. So we want to stun Mr. X at least 3 times. And we want to do that as fast as possible. And whenever I say stun here, I'm actually meaning damaging him to get into a stunned state. Using the flash grenades I do not believe would yield the same effect, even though you are stunning him, just stunning him in a different way. But yeah, after I get the 3 damage-induced stuns, I just try to hold on as long as possible, stunning him with the flash grenades and shooting him if he decides to do his ultimate attack, which is a one-hit kill.
We'll call it even.
Okay, it took surviving about 1 minute and 20 seconds, but we have the rocket launcher, the one way to beat Mr. X. Let's go ahead and use it and finish off this nuisance. Alright, that boss fight is over. I'm going to unequip the rocket launcher because I want to use that later. It is very handy against the final boss of Scenario 2. I run to a door, but a bunch of zombies are storming through. This is where I want to make use of my final flash grenade. It detonates and stuns the zombies. I use the flamethrower to finish them off. Leon, you have a train to catch.
Shit! Gotta get out of here. Can't believe I actually miss her.
Leon?
We made it.
Just like I said we would.
Who's this?
This is Sherry.
Okay. Jesus.
What was that?
I don't know. I'll go. You take care of Sherry.
Now that we are on the train, it is time for the grand finale of the Resident Evil 2 remake. I make my way to the next train car, which happens to be a safe room. Going to the storage box, I want the rocket launcher, I want the shotgun, I want the lightning hawk, and I want the Matilda. Besides just wanting those weapons, I take all the gunpowder that I have accumulated all throughout this entire playthrough, and I make all the shotgun shells or handgun rounds I possibly can make. That way I can prepare for one final battle that's going to require a bunch of ammo to take down the final boss. And on the note of the final boss, Leon has a lot of dialogue when fighting that individual, so I'm not going to be talking a whole lot during that fight. In fact, I'm going to try to avoid it altogether because it's kind of a glorified cutscene. The only thing I will say is going to be a piece of advice whenever it comes to this fight. Try to save the rocket launcher for the very last possible moment. Use all the other weapons that you can, especially the ones with the heaviest ammo like the Magnum and the shotgun, but whenever the final boss is nearly upon you and the eyeball opens, that is when you want to break out the rocket launcher for the biggest possible damage.
Want more bullets? Be my guest. Come on! Want some more? Christ! Just die already!
So, are you guys like boyfriend and girlfriend?
No, we're just... Oh, we actually just met last night.
Yeah. That would have been one hell of a first date, though.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Look! He might be able to give us a ride.
What if it's not just the city?
Get Sherry out of here.
Come on.
That was Live Another Day by the great.
He was friendly.
So, is it over?
I don't know. But if it's not, we'll stop it. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, you damn right we will.
As long as we stick together, we'll be fine. Come on.
Hey, you guys can adopt me.
Adopt you?
We can get a puppy.
Puppy?
And a parrot.
Parrot?
I always wanted pets, but my mom said they're too messy.
Next up on this boring Wednesday is a song to get your blood pumping.
Normally we have to wait until the credits are over to see the results, but I'm going to go ahead and use my editing powers to put the results first and we can watch the credits afterwards. So, Leonskennedy second scenario. I beat it on the hardcore difficulty and I did so in 1 hour and 53 minutes, and I saved exactly 3 times, the most you can possibly save and still get the S+ ranking, and sure enough, I do in fact have the S+ ranking. Overall, this was a super smooth playthrough. Everything went mostly according to plan. I mean, these things never go 100% according to plan, but nothing absolutely devastating happened that prevented me from being able to do what I wanted to do, so I would consider this a very strong send-off to the S+ ranking playthroughs I wanted to do for Resident Evil 2, and in fact, it is a proper send-off for the entire game, because this was the very last video I wanted to do for this game. I have really enjoyed playing it, but I've done pretty much everything I wanted to do, or at least everything I wanted to make a video about. I did the long playthroughs with Leon and Claire. Those were designed to cover the entire story, checking out all the documents and just trying to uncover as much lore regarding Resident Evil 2 as possible. I got those knocked out. Then I moved on to the extra modes, Ghost Survivors, for the what-if scenarios where characters who died in the story mode still somehow survived, and you get kind of an alternate universe scenario where you get to guide them to their survival, or at least keep them alive longer. And then there was the 4th survivor mode, which allows us to take control of Hunk, the only surviving USS agent, and the canonical 4th survivor of Resident Evil 2. He is considered number 4 because Ada is assumed dead until Resident Evil 4. After I got done with all those extra modes, I wanted to show more efficient gameplay where I got the S+ rankings for both characters and both their scenarios. And now with this video finished, I have accomplished all of that, and it's time to move on to something new. I do wish to continue doing Resident Evil videos, so logically, having done the Resident Evil 2 remake after having done the original Resident Evil's remake, it would make sense to move on to the Resident Evil 3 remake. And I've already played through it, I've got all the gameplay recorded for it. However, it's not going to be the very next game that I do. And I suppose now is as good a time as any to explain why that is. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I have very mixed feelings about the Resident Evil 3 remake. I really enjoyed Resident Evil 2's remake, and I expected that Resident Evil 3 would be really good as well. But like I said, I have mixed feelings about it, and there's certainly some things I don't love about that game. And the reason I want to wait before I do videos on it is because I don't really like being negative in these videos and talking bad about games. After all, the channel name is Thor's Entertainment. It was never meant to be anything negative. I would much rather take my time playing games I enjoy and talking about how good they are, how fun they are. That's just a better experience for me. And I just don't see the point in dedicating a lot of time to something you don't enjoy when you could be playing something you actually have fun with. Or I guess I've already played it, so I could be making videos on something I had more fun playing. That being said, I'm still going to do a series of videos playing through Resident Evil 3, but I'm just putting it on hold for a moment. What I would like to do is finish playing Resident Evil 4's remake and kind of seeing how that goes, because I feel like a major reason I'm not caring as much for Resident Evil 3 is because I'm comparing it to the remake of Resident Evil 2, which is a game I really enjoyed. So I'm wondering if maybe I'm being too hard on it because I'm comparing it to just overall a better game. Perhaps my opinion would be slightly different if I played through the entire remake trilogy of 2, 3, and 4, all of which came out really recently. I'm not exactly sure, but I felt like playing through all 3 of those would give me perhaps a better perspective and also allow me to look more favorably on the Resident Evil 3 remake. Like maybe looking at the entire remake trilogy as a whole would give me more appreciation for that game. Not sure if that's going to be the case or not, but I'm giving it a shot. That way I can have a bit more fun with those videos and be more positive about it, which I think would be a better viewing experience as well. And if I ever go back and look at the videos of me playing through Resident Evil 3, I think that's something I would rather see as well. So next up, since we are taking a break from Resident Evil, I am going to be doing a playthrough of Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. That is a game I grew up playing and I loved, and recently it got remastered, so it seems like the perfect time to go ahead and try out that remaster and see just how well that game has aged over the years and get some nostalgia going on and just having a good time playing something I really enjoyed back in the day. So when it comes to that game, I'm going to release some videos in advance. Those are just going to be to show people how to get all the optional items in the game, and I want to do that so whenever it comes to the real playthrough of the game, I can focus on just the story elements, that way I don't get too sidetracked, and then the story of the game can be told in as concise a way as possible. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So look forward to me posting the playthrough of Soul Reaver soon. I guess I'll go ahead and wrap things up here. Thank you everybody for checking out this video, and if you've stayed this long, I really do appreciate it as well. It has been fun playing through Resident Evil 2. It's interesting seeing it off after all this time and all this effort, and it has definitely been a fun experience. If you enjoyed it, feel free to check out the other things I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. Like I said, I have a bunch of other Resident Evil 2 videos. I have playthroughs of the original Resident Evil's remake, and I have plenty of other video game content on there as well. And with all of that out of the way, again, I hope you enjoyed the video, take care, and hopefully I will see you next time.